do want to honor your time and keep moving along this morning. So as we transition a little bit, I want to introduce Kelly Thompson. Many of y'all know Kelly. She's our GRREC Project Prevent Director, a new member of this team, helping me not only with the network, but I'm also helping with that grant. But she's going to be helping to broaden this network to include even more mental health professionals along with resources. And I'll put that slide up on there just because we'll be sharing this out later on in the day or later on in the week, just to remind you all that we are trying to broaden the network, bring as many things that are needed during this time, and join forces with school counselors and mental health professionals that are definitely in the region and need the support and working together. So hopefully we are going to be able to bring you even more items than we've done before in the past. So along the way, today we're going to definitely have speakers. Dr. Damian Sweeney will be finishing our day out as we go along with questions and comments from the survey that we've done. But first, I have to stop and say, we've got to do a little celebrating. Some of you all were probably able to join in person or virtually the Kentucky School Counselor Association Conference. And we are just so excited because GRREC was definitely represented well at this conference on the celebrations. So when you're actually going to hear from two of those that were celebrated, and actually we have a county outside the GRREC region that did a lot of work there as well presenting, and we are thankful that they're going to be with us as well today. So our first celebration, and Charlene, I hope you're on and feel free to unmute if you want to say something. Linda was represented and she was given the Linda Morse President's Award. She's Butler County High School, and high school counselors out there, you all know you feel like you're on an island by yourself sometimes, but Linda, with the Linda Morse President Award, Charlene definitely represents you all well in the state of Kentucky and definitely the GRREC region. A little bit about the award, and I don't want to mess this up, so I'm going to read what was said on some of it, that she's a recipient. She was chosen by the KSC president, and at that time it's Kyle Thomas. Kyle said that Charlene works many hours she puts in to prepare for the conference and to allow those to attend to have an enhanced experience due to her amazing technology skills. And I definitely know that. Terry Stice is our guru here at GRREC, and she brags on her constantly about her skills. Throughout the year, she oversees our social media to ensure our counselors statewide are getting all the important information necessary to be the most effective in their roles. She has spent countless hours working to build our new website so we can provide school counselors with even more opportunities throughout the year. She's an amazing person and is the glue that keeps our organization visible on a daily basis. I'm proud to call her a teammate and a friend, and that was also from Kyle. And then she was given the Linda Morse President's Award. So Ms. Charlene, can't thank you enough for representing school counselors across the state, but most importantly here at in the GRREC region. Feel free. I think you're on. Like I said, I've got Kelly Thompson as my right-hand person this morning, so she's manning kind of from a different room trying to look at the screen, but feel free to unmute if you want to give a little shout out, or you can wait till later on when you present. So I'll give you just a few seconds.
Thank you, Shay. I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you're with us. Bless your heart, as we say here in the South. So next thing I do want to bring up, feel free, especially when presentations start, to share your video just so they have some faces to kind of look out across the sea of a Zoom screen. It does make it nice just to see you all. See some eyes, see some faces that we know that are out there and that you all are with us, and it just makes it a little nicer to see your face. But if you don't worry, that is totally okay with you. The next person from the conference I want to give a little shout out to is Miss Sarah Aiken. Miss Sarah is actually going to be your new president, or our new president for the association for this coming school year. Sarah's going to take over in July, and we're so excited to have her as the representative for the state of Kentucky in the GRREC region. So Sarah, what they also said, that Sarah's fresh perspective and calming presence has been a welcome addition to the KSCA board. So she has worked tirelessly to be able to be given this honor to represent you all. And I can not only imagine the great things that's going to happen across this organization during this time. I know Charlene and them are going to work. They've always been worked as a team since I've been involved. And actually, and what I'll do, and Damien, you were there, if you want to give a little shout out just from the state of Kentucky and what you know that these two ladies have worked tirelessly on to help this organization, give a little shout out to them, and then we'll keep moving.
Yeah, absolutely. GRREC is really fortunate to have both of them. Charlene is, she's not only wonderful for KSCA, but she's an incredible high school counselor, one that I look to for information and guidance to often. So I'm super proud of her, and what an amazing, incredible human being. And then Sarah, we work closely together quite a bit, and I think she is an innovator in our field. I think that she has some really, as Kyle mentioned, fresh ideas, and she before the last conference was over, she already knew what she wanted to do for next year's conference and different changes that she was going to make just to enhance the experience. So super happy for you to hear from her this morning. We've already kind of discussed what she's gonna do with you, and just so proud of both women. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sweeney, for giving us that perspective, just the state's perspective. And the conference, you all did an amazing job. It was actually my first time being there, being a part of that. And it was unreal, the speakers and what you all were able to pull together on such a precedent time to give us the information that was needed. And that's where I actually found the two of the speakers later on and thought I would bring them to the GRREC region just to share some of their information. No doubt you are going to hear throughout this school year and the next school year from Sarah and Charlene. I'm going to make a point to have them help us and guide us, just because they're going to also have a state perspective on what school counselors are going through at the elementary level, middle school, and high school level, because we know needs are different. So we hope to be able to do that, and along with having Kelly Thompson with us to help also reach out to mental health professionals and have some other guidance there on what might need to be needed. So welcome again. We're so excited to have everybody. I just saw where we have about 126 school counselors and or mental health professionals with us today. So, you know, it takes a village, and I can't imagine that we cannot change some of the things that we're working for and fighting for on a daily basis with this many people ready to work together to be able to make things happen in this region. So a little bit of just how the day.
Can I jump
please,
in?
Kelly? Absolutely, Kelly.
I just want to jump in a minute, because for those of you that don't know, Shay also received an award at the conference. She's not going to mention herself, and so Shay received the Angela Wilkins Helping Hand Award for her support across this region and even the state on supporting, you know, school counselors. So huge shout out to Shay for all that she does and her support.
Thank you.
To you all. So let's give her a little love.
Thank you, Kelly. I was just getting ready to do that. She wasn't going to say anything about herself.
No, she wasn't. I kept giving her time, and I thought she is not going to mention that, so I'm just going to bust in. So now I'm muted, so I'll be quiet now.
Thank you. And oh my gosh, Linda Tyree, thank you for being with us. I have a little shout out to you later on in this presentation on some of the work that you're going to start doing with and helping at GRREC and actually leading at GRREC. So one of the other members of the KSCA that made that day happen. So fabulous to have you be on board. And so a little bit later to come about Miss Linda Tyree and her work. So to start us off, we're going to have Miss Sarah Aiken, Christian County School Counselor, that's going to be talking with us. Then we'll lead into Miss Charlene Bratcher in Butler County. And then Miss Heather and Miss Olivia from Boone County will be doing a little presentation as well. And then Dr. Damien, of course, is going to ended with answering about 4 to 5 questions that came up. So a little bit about this, how I came up with today's kind of layout, which with the help of the team, just kind of saying, what do you think? If you remember, I sent out a survey. So the speakers are gonna try to address and show you all things of questions and concerns and thoughts that you all had. A lot of it was around Google Classrooms, counseling sites, motivation ideas. What can you do to get more families involved? There were tons of different questions, might not be able to answer. I'm sure we will not answer all questions, but I just thought that later on we'll be able to send out these ideas about visuals that will help you all. Just anything to help you all to during this virtual time and in the hybrid type sessions that you're doing as well. So I'm trying to do a variety, elementary, middle, and high. We hope all things can be adapted. If not, you all know to reach out to me at any time and say, help, what was it that they were talking about? And I know Sarah and Charlene and Heather and Olivia are not going to mind that you reach out to them directly at all. It takes a team. I don't have the answers. What I love doing for you all is being able to hunt down the answers for you all. So working together. And then of course, we had questions that I feel like needed to come from the state's perspective, about 5 of them. And that's where Dr. Damien is going to be able to help guide us on those. So, and I'm going to always allow time for clarifying questions as well. So along the way, we're going to start off with Miss Sarah. And so Miss Sarah, I am almost sure that you are on here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and it may take just a second, but then you should be able to hit the green share screen, and then your presentation should be able to pop up. And thank you all for turning on your video cameras. I love seeing all the faces there for a quick second. So remember, as Sarah gets ready, she's kind of showing the elementary perspective on a lot of the questions that were asked. But middle school, high school, hopefully you all can also be thinking about how can I adapt and make this happen at the high school level. May not be a huge need for you, but hopefully down the road, you just never know. So Miss Sarah, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm going to mute myself.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me to share with you all today. I'm so excited just to share some things at the elementary level. Just kind of a little bit about myself, a little bit about where I'm at. I'm over in Christian County at Indian Hills Elementary School. Right now, we have about 513 students total. We have about 100 and probably 70 something that are participating in our virtual learning academy. And then we have about 340 or so that are here attending in person. We are a preschool through 6th grade school. I am the only counselor here, so I wear many, many hats. And so just really trying to figure out how to connect with our kids during, when we're in remote learning, when we're here in in-person learning. So just going to kind of share some things, with you all that we did during our remote learning time, also that we're doing here during in-person learning, and hopefully can answer any questions that you all have. So, as we all know, really shifting from that shifting from in-person to virtual school counseling was really kind of hard because it was really uncharted territory for most of us. Most of us had never done anything like that. And so I was very thankful, during that time, that GRREC provided a lot of resources, KDE provided a lot of resources, ASCA had so many resources out there for us too. And so really it was just kind of, taking all of those resources and thinking, okay, how can I best serve my students here? A lot of our students at Indian Hills don't have any technology at home. Their parents may have a phone, there may be a tablet or something like that. So in March, when we left on that March 13th, I was convinced that we were coming back in 2 weeks. I was absolutely convinced that I would see them in 2 weeks. And so we sent packets home with our students. We sent like 14 days worth of work home. And so I stuck some social and emotional learning activities in those packets to kind of engage our students in those things as well. But I also decided for our students that did have access to computers and things like that, that I would do a Google Classroom. So I'm just going to kind of share that with you right now, just to show you a little bit about what that looks like. The students could access a code, and I would just post things throughout the week. I tried to post things on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday just throughout the week, because for what we were finding as well is a lot of our kids and our parents were very overwhelmed with the amount of work that was being sent home, but also just very overwhelmed with the situation, because many of our parents had lost jobs, or their kids were at home all day every day, and the kids were driving them a little bonkers, to be honest. So we were trying to really be sensitive to those needs with our kids. We also know that a lot of our kids didn't have any support at home when it came to doing work and things like that. So these are just some things that I did. One of the things that I really love doing is we did a thank you to our heroes. We did a little presentation that we actually posted on our Facebook page. When I go back to my other presentation, I'll show you some of the pictures that I have on that slide. Some of our students were able to do an activity. They wrote a letter to a local hero, anyone from the grocery store worker to a police officer to our sanitation workers. And if the students wrote a letter, they were asked if they could bring them by school, or I would come by their house and pick it up from them. And any letters that we got, we sent those to those local offices just to say thank you for everything that was going on. And that was a really, really cool thing. Some of the kids wanted to draw pictures. We really loved that. Each week I did a mindful moment, did some sort of mindfulness activity that I posted on our Google Classroom, but I also posted on our Facebook page. I found that posting on Facebook was one of the ways that we really could connect with our families, because many of the kids were able to sign on to Google Classroom, but the parents were seeing the information on Facebook. We also posted that on Class Dojo. We used the Class Dojo app in order to communicate with our parents. And so anything that we were doing, we really used that app to push those things out. Things about lunches, things about, turning in work, social emotional learning types of things. So we also posted those on here. We did a lot of things of just easy things that the kids could do that we had already reiterated throughout the year in our school counseling lessons. So we did a lot last year with managing emotions, talking about emotions. You can see on here, I don't know if you can see that, like some kids were commenting, done, finished. We did some breathing exercises. I love seeing the kids' comments on the things that they had done. What I also really love is kids were able to come and turn in their work. And so we let the work sit in some bins for a couple of days, and I got probably a stack, I couldn't even tell you, this big, of papers back where the kids had actually done some of the lessons, and just seeing some of the things that they put on it. Like, I've actually kept those. I just don't think that's something I will ever be able to throw away, because I love the thoughts that they came up with, just doing this really, really, really strange time. So like I said, the Google Classroom was a really great way for me just to post things, to connect with kids that did have access to technology as well. But I actually would post each of these activities on our Class Dojo as well, so the parents would have access to those. So I'm going to switch back over to our presentation. Some of the other things that we did just during that time to get kids connected and families connected is we did some different, we did a spirit week. So we had a pajama day. We had wear your favorite team day. So we encouraged our kids to, take pictures, send them to us. That way we could just post it on social media, because, we really just decided, we really need a lot of happiness and love and kindness in the world. So anything we can get out there to really celebrate that. One of the activities we did was a kindness challenge. And we had just some different activities that some suggestions and ideas. You can see over here, kind of the bottom left picture, those are some of my kiddos. And they actually had made some deliveries to a friend that needed some essential items that couldn't get out. So they just sent us pictures of things that they did. We really posted those, celebrated, just being kind and how we really needed kindness in the world. Another way that I really loved connecting with my kids during this time is you can see that picture of myself. I found these cute little things. Someone had left all of these little posters at school. Someone printed them off on the printer. We have no idea who did it, but I sat and I took a picture of myself for every single kid in school and sent them a message through our class dojo. So each parent got a text message from me with just a little message, Miss Aiken misses you, and just little something like that. And it was so much fun just taking different pictures. The kids loved them. I actually used them to send to my niece and nephew too, because I absolutely loved them a lot. But those were just a really fun way to connect with our kids. You can see my little sassy Ava Claire here. That's Miss Stratton. That is our assistant principal's daughter. And she was just saying thank you to sanitation workers as well. We also did a wellness week. We were talking about how important it was, to get out and take care of yourself and do things with your family. So we had a mileage challenge, encouraging families to get out and walk or run, try it Tuesday with vegetables or a different sort of fruit. Water Wednesday. We did Think About It Thursday, which was our mindfulness activity, and then our family fitness. So we just encouraged our teachers and our students and families to get participating in that. And we sent out pictures and we posted those on Facebook, and it was just a really cool opportunity, for our students just to connect. This year, everybody's been about the Bitmoji classroom. And so we actually started here in Christian County Public Schools. We started on August the 27th. We started in NTI. We were only in NTI for a week. We came back to school in person on September the 8th, right after Labor Day. The elementary schools we are 100% 5 days a week, full capacity unless you chose to go to virtual learning. And then our middle schools and high schools are doing a hybrid schedule. And so I created this Bitmoji classroom after I had seen everybody else's classroom. I said, I have to do this. And had some really cool ways just to connect with our kids through this time. So I don't think that Bitmoji looks like me at all, but I did the very, very best that I could with it. So the first thing I did is I really thought it was important for a lot of our kids just to know who I was before they got to in-person school. So I did a little create to meet your school counselor. It was just, let me go back up here. So the first thing I did was just who the school counselor is. Then I actually kind of had a picture of myself, and then I just told a little bit about myself, had a picture of my family there, some of my favorite places, ways that they could connect with me as well. And then there was a whole little lesson about, what the school counselor does, what we talk about, and things like that. So that was just one way, just starting out, how I really tried to connect so they knew who I was. Whoops, let me go back. My other favorite thing about this is we created a kindness and empathy library. And this is my favorite part of this classroom. So it's a whole little library of just books. I really love using books when I do my school counseling lessons. What I thought is really cool is you can actually hover over at the book and you can click on the book and it'll actually bring up someone reading the book. So I really loved that feature of the classroom, that way that they could click on books, they could read some of those things. Some of the books in the classroom were actual books that we had used last school year in some lessons. So they already knew some of those books that we had used before. A lot of our classrooms here during in-person, we have some peace corners or calm corners, and trying to figure out how those were going to look like in-person, because we weren't able to have the bean bags and the pillows and some things like that. So I made a virtual calm corner for some of our kids, which again is super cool. I love this. But you can actually just click on, for example, click on Jenga, and you can actually play Jenga. You can click on the crayons or markers and actually color different pictures. So just other cool ways that kids could do things that weren't just math, science, and social studies all the time, just other little fun things that they could do. We also just had a daily check-in that I'd use with our students. We could use this for them, just checking in on how their feelings are, maybe a self-care tip, something, a little writing prompt that they could think about, a character trait of the day, a mindful exercise, and then just something else that they could draw. It says day one, these were like 50 days worth of check-ins that we use with kids. Some of my teachers now have requested this, that they actually start their day off with this in their classroom for their kind of morning meeting. Their classroom meetings is what some of our teachers have called it. Just to kind of start out the day right after announcements with, just some social and emotional learning, something that's easy, already prepared for them, that they don't have to, put a lot of thought into. I also just linked, some of our NTI information. We created an NTI site for Indian Hills where, kind of what does NTI look like, student expectations, those types of things for our parents. We thought that was really important to make sure that I had that information for them if they went to that site. And just some other fun little things that they could do, social and emotional learning bingo. I actually think I might have gotten this from Linda during when we started in March. So thank you, Linda, for letting me have this. And I have used this and passed this around a lot. But this was just one of the things that I actually sent home in our packets with students. But again, just another thing that they could do, with their families. A lot of these things were family oriented. I encourage the students to do these with their families, just so their families can see what we are doing here at school with social and emotional learning. Because as you know, our parents need social and emotional learning just as much as our kids do. So that's just a little bit about some of the classrooms that I've created. I kind of see the chat going a lot, and I don't know if there's.
So Miss Sarah,
Yes.
Thompson is manning the chat board.
Yay.
They are asking if they can have the links to stuff. So what I'm going to ask you all as presenters, and I know you are willing to help everybody, because this is why we're doing this, is to help each other, to work as a team. So you all just feel free, presenters, send everything my way if you want to, and I will email it out. Or unless during the time, if you've got some chances throughout this meeting, if you want to put a link in the chat, feel free to do so. But then I can also follow up in an email in a day or so and have all the resources that we're talking about today. So just to let you all know that, yes, you're going to have access, and yes, they're willing to share. No stealing. Just like you saw Linda Tyree, she stole it from Sherlyn, and then Sarah got it from Linda. So we're all going to steal and work together on all of this. So
absolutely.
Keep going, Miss Sarah. Sorry, I just wanted to let you.
No, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, we're helping with the chat. So
awesome. So one other thing that I wanted to share with you all is a needs assessment. I think it's super important when we're looking at our school counseling program to do a needs assessment with our staff. To see what types of things that they're seeing in the classrooms to help us best kind of guide what we need to do in our programs, what we need to be doing with our kids. So I did a needs assessment this summer, with them, just asking them some questions about, what were some counseling services that you really thought our kids need? Individual, small group, classroom lessons. Did they need more training on social and emotional learning, trauma-informed care, parent outreach? So I really just kind of wanted a pulse check of what our staff thought that really helped guide me as far as, again, what they're seeing and what our kids really need. And I really loved the feedback that I got on that. There was some other things that they shared that I would have not even thought about. I was very, very happy that our staff understood what my role was at the school, because, I think a lot of times our staff doesn't understand what our role is. They see us doing so many other things like testing and ARC chairperson and scheduling, that they just think that that's the only thing that we do or we should be doing. And so I was really happy that they really understood, what our role was. So again, this was just a Google form that I use. I'll be more than happy to share this as well. One thing that I'm working on right now is I want to do a parent night for our students. Last year, we did a social and emotional learning parent night about mindfulness. It was scheduled for November, but we had a snow day in November. And so we rescheduled it, and I was bound and determined I was going to do it first semester. So I scheduled it during December. Bad idea. Don't ever schedule a parent night in December, because I had 2 kids come with both of their parents. So you know what? We went ahead and did the parent night. But we're gonna do that parent night again. But I really want to do something virtually for our parents, just trying to figure out how all that works. So I'm actually in the process right now of working on a needs assessment for our families about what types of things would they like to see, what type of information do they need. I have not finished that yet, but when I do, I'll be more than happy to share it if anybody would like it, because I really want to kind of see, what our parents need, and as well, because I want them to understand too what their kids are doing here at school, with me. So just connecting with kids, at the elementary level in person. One of the things that I do each year to start off our school year, which is probably my most favorite thing ever, is student minute meetings. I absolutely love those. When we started NTI, they had that little introduction to the school counselor, but I went in again and did another introduction to the school counselor, just so they could see me again, that they could understand, who I was, kind of what my role is. So I have a little book that I read about what the school counselor is. For my kindergarten through 2nd grade, I actually read Rainbow Fish. I found a cool little thing about how the wise octopus is like the school counselor, and how the school counselor is like the wise octopus and helps me. And so we did that, with our kindergarten through 2nd grade students. And with 3rd through 6th grade, I just have a little book about the school counselor. And then what I do is I meet with each 1st through 6th grade student. What I found meeting with the kindergarten students, they don't exactly understand what I'm asking. And so it gets a little hairy, gets a little wonky when we start asking some of the questions that I ask, just because when I say, is there anything you want to talk to the counselor about? They're like, yes. And it's usually about what they had for breakfast, or about their dog or their cat, or, something like that. So I just do it with 1st through 6th grade students. Let me go back. So what I do is, this is the form that I use. I, explain to the students. It just literally takes us 1 minute to do this. I bring them out in the hallway with just us, and I ask them these questions. What I absolutely love is, my goal is to try to learn every kid's name in the whole school. My absolute favorite duty that I have, I know lots of us have car duty and bus duty and cafeteria duty and different things like that, but I have morning duty. I stand up front in the front lobby, and I see every kid come in every morning, and it's my absolute favorite thing. So I try to learn all of our students' names, because I think that's so important. So they're really shocked when I sit down and I'm like, oh, hi, Jose. And I can say his name. And he's like, how did you know my name? But I ask them how their school year is going so far. They can give me these responses. I want them to know where my office is. I think that's important for them to know where I'm located. I ask them if they have any friends at school. Is there an adult at school you can talk to if you have a problem? And is there anything that you want to talk to me about? From there, it formulates into a Google sheet for me that I can kind of sort some data. I can use that data. I've used that data too. If they tell me that there's not an adult that they could talk to if they were having a problem, that's somebody that I want to get connected with, a mentor here at school. If they don't tell me that they don't have any friends here at school, I want to try to get them connected, maybe in one of my small groups that we have, or maybe one of our clubs or organizations, for them to be able to make some friends. This was very helpful this school year doing this, because when I asked them, is there anything you want to talk to the counselor about? I had quite a few kids that had some things that they wanted to share with me, wanted to talk to me about. I had to make several referrals to DCBS because of things that were shared with me during that time. Also some referrals to our mental health providers, just because I felt like the need was a little greater than we needed to handle here in school. So, but I also love that about 98% of our kids felt like there's an adult here at school they could talk to if they were having a problem. And I think that's a really great, really telling about our staff. So I also do just school counseling lessons. I go in weekly to grade levels and do lessons with our kids. I try to hit every grade level at least twice a month by doing those lessons. Just recently, since it's kind of Halloween, with our kindergarten through second grade students, I read the book Halloweener. It's one of my favorite little books. For those, some of you know, I have a Dachshund, Daisy, and so I love using this book for her. But they were able to do a writing prompt about, tell me about a time that you helped someone. So we talked about what it means to be a friend as well. For our older students, we talked about how to unwrap assumptions, and we kind of did that like using the analogy of a mummy, how we can unwrap, getting to know people. I'll be honest with you, I don't use a certain program. I don't use, I know some of you all use Sanford Harmony, PATH, Second Steps, those types of things. I truthfully just use a hodgepodge of things and try to put together, what I think is best for our kids, the things that I need. I do have a curriculum map that I keep just to kind of help me stay guided on what we think our focus should be. And as I see a need, that curriculum map changes. It's not set in stone that I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about emotions this month. So we kind of change things up as well with our lessons. You can kind of see on our screen some of the lessons that I've done within the last couple of weeks. I love taking pictures of the kids doing lessons. I'll send those to parents. I'll put them on my newsletter. We'll put them on our Facebook page, just showing parents what we're doing. Another really great way to connect with our families, our teachers, districts, administrators as well, is just a monthly newsletter that I do. I do a monthly newsletter just kind of introducing myself, kind of counseling activities at a glance, kind of sharing, what I'll be doing. And then our advisory council, I'll talk more about that in a minute. And then I usually do a social and emotional learning tip for parents as well. And then just some kind of important dates for parents to remember. One thing that I really try to do is I track my data each day of the time that I'm spending with students. Christian County is in the Project Prevent grant as well. And I know that's one thing that the grant requires us to do is track our time. But even before that, I was really tracking my time because, again, I wanted to see how much time I was spending doing testing, spending time in ARC meetings, how much time I was, doing suicide risk assessments or threat assessments. I wanted to track my time specifically. So I really have tracked that time. And at January, I do a mid-year report that I send out to my advisory council, to all of our staff. And I really just give counseling by the numbers, talk about my small groups, lunch bunch, how many lessons that I've done, what we've done them on, and just really my amount of time that I've spent in meetings, building assessment coordinator, all of those types of things. This has been really helpful for me, just tracking this time, sharing this out with district leaders, especially just seeing the amount of time that we are working. And then at the end of the year, I also do an end of the year report as well. I'm not sure what's happening there. So I do an end of the year report as well. So I think I've got too many things open here. I cannot seem to find what I'm looking for. So hang on.
Hey, Miss Sarah, while you're looking at that, I know we're going over just a tab, but I'm not going to stop you. I want you to keep going. There are a couple questions on the chat. So
Okay.
what I would do, if at the end of like some of these presentations, what we'll do is allow them to unmute and ask the question out loud, or Kelly and I will try to ask that for them.
For sure.
When you're finished, you are still going to have a chance for Sarah to answer your questions. It may be at the end when Heather and Olivia finish their presentation, and we'll kind of do them together. But
I'm super sorry. I am really
No.
bad at talking a really long time, so I apologize.
No, don't you dare apologize. I have a buffer of time as you all well know, speakers, that I did that, just knowing that it's hard to get it all in a 30-minute little increment. So keep going, and just know that we're going to adjust time. And Heather and Olivia, hopefully that isn't going to mess you all up. I know you're on Eastern time and have some other things going on, but hang in there with us. It's great stuff. Sarah, keep going.
So one of the last things about connecting with elementary students that I wanted to share is we do Mindful Monday here at Indian Hills. So every Monday after morning announcements, we do a mindful sort of exercise. I may send them a video link for them to show their students with a mindful exercise. It may be something that I read over the intercom. This really just helps our students focus, center, prepare for the week ahead. So what I wanted to do really fast is I actually wanted to just quickly do one of the mindfulness exercises that I do with kids, just so you can see how simple, how easy this is, how it literally only takes just a couple of minutes to do this. So what I do is just a little reminder. This is Mindful Monday. You know, mindfulness is being aware of my feelings, my emotions, and how they impact me. And then I will do a little small activity with them. So the activity that I did this past Monday was called Daily Intention. So, you know, I will start by saying, you know, today we are doing a mindful exercise. We will use this exercise to set the tone for our day and think about things that we will accomplish today. I will ask the students to sit comfortably in their desk, and if they would like to close their eyes, if they're comfortable closing their eyes, if they could close their eyes and to take a nice deep breath in, and then they'll exhale, one more breath in and exhale. As you sit comfortably in your space, close your eyes and think about the things you want to accomplish today. What things will you allow to feel like you've made the most of your day? Spend some time thinking about this. Now, in your mind, picture yourself working towards accomplishing these things. What steps will you take? What actions and behaviors will help you reach these goals? Picture yourself completing the task and make the note of the things that you will do to help achieve these goals. In your mind, commit to these actions that will help you succeed today. And so I'll say, let's take one more deep breath in, exhale, and I hope you have an amazing day. That's literally what I do on our morning announcements, or I do through a video, something very simple just to help our kids get focused throughout the day. Down here at the bottom is one of our 6th grade classes. That's actually from last year, so I apologize, but that's just how simple that activity can be, and our kids absolutely love it. I had a kid tell me yesterday, can we do a mindful moment every single day? He's like, it just really helps me feel calm every morning. So I love how simple those activities can be. Another thing we've been doing that I've really been pushing is self-care. Self-care for our teachers and self-care for our staff. You know, in times like these, social emotional needs for our staff is absolutely critical. You know, I like to think of it as putting your own oxygen mask on first. You know, when you're on a flight, you know, you hear the person telling you put your own oxygen mask before you help someone else. That's what we've really been encouraging our staff to do, is really take care of yourself, because self-care isn't selfish. So we've been trying to find ways to, you know, build staff morale, boost morale, and really provide some things for them. So I've created a self-care calendar for our staff that I give them each month. This was just the one from October. Just really simple things that they could do. Like today is on the 29th, cook your favorite dinner. Simple things that don't cost them a lot of money that they could do. For the month of November, we're actually doing a month gratitude journal. We're going to be really, as a school-wide, focusing on kindness, focusing on gratitude. So each of our staff members are going to receive a gratitude journal, and we're going to kind of work through those things each day. We're doing a gratitude tree as a school. Each person is going to receive a little thing, and they are going to be able to write 3 things that they're grateful for. And we're making a big tree in our front lobby that I'm really excited about. I have a book that I'm reading on Monday called the Gratitude Tree. So I'm really excited about that. The last thing I'm going to talk about, and I'm not going to show this video, is my advisory council. The advisory council, I think, is so very important. If you don't have one of these, I encourage you to have one, because it's just some people in the community and within your school that can really help, you know, give you some guidance as far as, you know, it's a platform that really can help you guys collaborate on how to best serve your students. You know, my advisory council kind of gives me recommendations about, you know, things that they see in the community. I have our chief of police, Clayton Sumner, on our advisory council, and he sees what's going on in our community in regards to crime, domestic violence, substance abuse, all of those things. And so he really comes into the school and provides some data. Like I have data here in school about grades, behavior, and attendance, but he comes in and provides that community data that really supports the need for those trauma-informed care practices, for that social and emotional learning. And I'm so thankful for that. I also have, a parent. I have a 3rd grade teacher, a 1st grade teacher. Our principal is on there. One of our school-based therapists, Cassie Dartery, is on there. Mr. Benzel, our superintendent, is actually on that advisory council, which I think is really awesome. I have our CEO from the Hopkinsville Christian County YMCA as well. And then Dr. Sweeney sits in on it when he can. But just everybody brings their own expertise to that council. And so it's been really great, really helpful for them just sharing with me so I can better serve the needs, of our kids here at school. They also receive those monthly reports about how things are going. And again, they also are that voice in the community or that voice in the state that can help us advocate and support for school counselors and school counseling programs. So I'm really thankful for those individuals, and it's a really great opportunity. We meet twice a year, so it's not anything hard that can be done. And I just share a lot of data with them and things that are going on in the school. So I know that I've talked a whole lot, and I'm really sorry, Shay.
No, you're good.
I can't help it. I'm long-winded. I'm a preacher's kid. And so
Hey.
I've come, I come by it honestly, so I can't help it. So feel free to reach out to me, anyone. Here is my contact information. I will be more than happy to share anything with you. A lot of, like I said, a lot of this stuff is just things that I've found on the internet. Things from programs. It's just a hodgepodge of things that I put together to try to best meet the needs of our kids. And so if anybody has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer anything.
So I think, Sarah, thank you. Oh my gosh, a wealth of information. And you are right here in the GRREC region, which is unreal that we have you and others like you that we've got to tap in more and share across our region. One thing that I will have Sarah do as she stops sharing her screen, Ms. Sherlyn's going to get ready to talk about middle school, high school thoughts and ideas. Elementary school counselors, don't tune out, because what Ms. Bratcher is going to be showing, you might be able to adapt and do as well, and vice versa. Hopefully high school, you all got some ideas from Miss Sarah. I will ask Sarah, as she's kind of taking a breather, getting something to drink, is Sarah, you might want to go back into the chat and try to answer some of those questions if you want to. If not, just know that we will try to get those asked at the end, or we will get that chat printed out here at GRREC and answer those questions, send those questions to you, and we'll get those emailed out. We're going to try to do our best, but I know we got to respect your time and try to be done at 11:32. Just know your questions will get answered. We'll try to get them done today while we're here, but if not, we'll get them to you. And thank you, Miss Sarah, once again, wealth of information. I should have known with Dr. Sweeney and Miss Linda always promoting you all that you should have been part of this at the very beginning in July. But I know it took you all time to learn and know what you were going to do for this type of year. So school counselors out there, if you're struggling, it's just taken time. It's taken Sarah time to go back and forth and figure what works best in her district. And I think that's what you always have to remember. What works best in my school and in my district. Okay, so I'm going to be quiet. Ms. Bratcher, girlfriend, you take it away and help us out in middle school, high school.
Okay. Can you guys see my screen first? Okay.
Yes, we can see it. If you want to put it on PowerPoint mode, there you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, so I am a school counselor at Butler County High School. This is my 3rd year at the high school. I was a school counselor at the middle school for 3 years, so I do have experience with both. And so I do know that a lot of the things that I did at the middle school, I've kind of adapted to a high school level. So that kind of works. I did include my work phone number and my cell number here. So if you need to call me, text me, feel free to do that. The Google site, I'm going to take myself out because I already have everything open so that I don't have to keep going back and forth. But I created a Google site last year during, this NTI that we did. And so mine, it has a lot of different things on here. At the very top, it's just my beginning information, my contact information, and then the way, and I still do this now because we have about 670 students, and we're a 9 through 12 school, and we have A days and B days. We have A days on Monday, Tuesday, B days on Thursday, Friday, and then we have our virtual students, and we're about a third on each day. And so I still use Sign Up Genius, and I don't know if any of you all ever use that, but my Sign Up Genius, I've created it, and you'll notice up here at the top that it does not put the student's name. So if a student goes in here and says, I want to sign up, the only person that sees their actual name is me, because you can set that up so that only the person who owns, that created it can see it. So there's no confidentiality, issue of other people seeing that, somebody is coming in to see me. So this is pretty much for my virtual kids, but a couple of my even, students who are here, maybe it's they're on an opposite day, like it might be Monday and my B students need to come and see me. And so they will put this in here, and in the comments they'll actually put like whether they want me to call them, whether they want to Google Meet, or whether they're actually going to come in person. So I use the Sign Up Genius. It's free. There are some, obviously, like with everything, if you want to pay for it, but you can pay for some added features and everything, but I just use the free version. But I have my Sign Up Genius account here for them to sign up. Of course, I have the Bitmoji classroom, but that was one of those things that I was working on. Then conference happened. Then we started working on the new website, and so everything just kind of hit. So mine kind of like went to the waste, and so I kind of have it down at the bottom. I still need to kind of work on that and tweak it. But I have a couple of coloring, a book here that you can click on, and it'll take you to some coloring pages. Just some mindfulness things over here. And then I've got, like I said, I've got a lot of things to add to it because I just did not have time. I do have a newsletter, and I use Canva. I know Sarah used Smore, but that was a little out of my price range. So I use Canva for my particular newsletters. And so when we were in the spring, I created one every week. Now I'm just doing it every 9 weeks. Every quarter I create one. But I included, like, on the first page was pretty much like information that, students needed to know. And then on the other pages were things that they could do, some activities for them to do. A lot of them, some of them were things that we had talked about. I love the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. That's the one that I use a lot when students come in who are anxious. So I'm constantly using that one. Journaling, I think we've all kind of talked to students about doing journaling, and I have a lot of students who love to draw, and for me, because I'm not somebody who can draw anything more than a stick figure, so I try to come up with different art things, just because I know we have so many students who are so creative, and even though that is so not in my element, I try to provide some things for them. And so each week, like I said, in the spring, I did this, and I came up with some different activities, some DIY projects, for them that were inexpensive, things that they could, come up with. I told Dr. Sweeney, I kind of, on his counseling connections, he always throws out something, some kind of music, and, to kind of feel good. And I was like, so I kind of stole that a little bit from him, and I kind of came up with some music that I thought was, beneficial at that moment, kind of, relaxed you and kind of made you feel happy and good. So like I said, so I kind of came up with some different things, and this was funny because, and I think Kelly's on here, Kelly Rich from Edmonson County, ended up, we were talking, and so she sent some of these Zentangles to some of her students. They were contacting me going, can you send me more? And so I was sending them more examples, and then I was telling them, just Google Zentangles, and they'll give you some examples out there. So just some, some, like I said, I try to pull as much art as possible because I know that the kids love to do that. Some different scavenger hunts, like my big thing was, even in the spring when this was new to everybody and trying to figure out how do we do this, I was trying to, we had students that were talking to us and were like, I'm just staying inside. I'm not getting out. I'm not seeing anybody. And we're like, and so that's where I try to really focus on, telling students, okay, yes, you have to social distance, but let's change that mindset to just be physical distance. And so like, I really kind of worked on that and saying, you can go outside, you can do these things. You just have to be apart from people, and because they were like, I'm not really talking to any of my friends. And so we kind of talked about those kind of things and, just getting outside, because we did have some beautiful days there in the spring, and for them to get outside and do some scavenger hunts that were outside. So we did some of those kind of things. We are a sources of strength school, and so we did some different activities during that time with sources of strength, because we have our 8 strengths that we focus on. And so one was healthy habits. And on that one, we just had students to either video or take a picture of themselves, and then they were put into a drawing. And then I sent them an e-gift card, whoever, I think we drew like 3 and they won. We did, this came from Sources of Strength, and it was a bingo. So they have a ton of things out there. Even if you're not a Sources of Strength school, there are tons of things on their website that you could use. We did a spirit week. Last year during during the NTI, we did a spirit week, and students were to take pictures and then send the pictures, either post and tag the school, or either send it to me and then I could do that, whichever one. And again, we did prizes for those. So we did a couple of different things. We, of course, did some things with Kia, being at a high school level. This was something that was really important to make sure. We did some combination with just students. And then we also did some presentations with Kia for parents, like how to pay for college, what are the first steps, for your seniors that you're going to have next year. So we did some different things like that with some of our parents, so that they could be more involved. Let me go back to my presentation. All right. So this year, we're really focusing on the emotional check-in. Last year we did it, I did it every Wednesday, and I would send an email to the students and I would say, hey guys, it's Wednesday. Guess what day it is? It is Emotional Wednesday. And so they would fill it out. And so even during the summer, I would get these emails from students, and they would go, it would be on Wednesday, and they would go, hey, Miss Bratcher, guess what day it is? It's Wednesday, and this is how I'm feeling today. And I was like, awesome. So we decided this year, we got a new principal, and at our first meeting, he was like, I want to do emotional check-ins. And as a school counselor, that's exactly what you want to hear your principal saying, is that, he wants to do these things. And so I was just like, I am loving you already, first meeting and I'm loving you. And so we do emotional check-ins, and we add something into it every time. So we try to make sure that it's combined into the emotional check-in. So we'll have the emotional check-in where it'll say, how are you feeling? Is there anything that you want to share? And we tell them it can be something positive. It can be something, that they are worried about or concerned about. It can be anything. And so we'll have, like, I had one kid, just, say, I had the best day today. I ate some popcorn and I watched a movie, and he was just, but he was so excited about, doing that. And so I emailed him back and I was like, well, that movie is wonderful. And I was like, and I wish you would have shared the popcorn with me. And so, and so they love the fact that we are reading the check-ins and reading those comments. We're responding back to them, because sometimes they'll go, are you all really reading these? And we're emailing them back and we're like, yes, we're reading them. What do you want to talk about? And so we're constantly emailing and communicating with our students. We did add a suicide prevention element to the one in September. We do a Sources of Strength once a month activity. We did a resiliency. We did our counselor information, like all of our information, because normally, we all know we go into the classrooms, and we would have done that this time because we do have 2/3 of our students here. But then we were like, well, what about the other students who aren't here? And then we also were like, well, we were concerned about taking any time from the classroom because the teachers only have them for 2 days. And so we were trying to come up with ways to, that we didn't interrupt classroom, but we still got our information out. And we don't just put the information out there, we also ask questions about it. So, let me go. So this is the one that we sent out. It was the counselor information one. And so here you'll see that it just has their first name and last name, their grade. It has all of the, the different types of feelings that they might have. And then we had a PowerPoint for them to look at. Then we just asked some random questions so that we know that they actually looked at whatever it is. Like the resiliency one was how to breathe and do some, different little things like that, like mindfulness. And so we asked some questions like, what are some examples for you to be able to calm down when you're stressed or something like along those lines. And then we asked, do you need a check-in with one of us? And sometimes we've noticed that, they just kind of click the first one. And since my name was alphabetically first, that my name is on there. And then when we ask them, they're like, no, I didn't need anything. I just accidentally clicked that. And we're like, okay, we're just checking. But again, here's where we ask, like, is there anything that you need from us? Do we need to, contact you? What do you want to share with us today? Sorry. And then we ask them for their email and their phone number, because if it is a student who's here, obviously we can do an email. But a lot of our students, even though everybody has a school email, they don't really check that email. They check a personal one. And so we have them to put, whichever email they want us to, and we'll respond to whichever one they want. And then email or the phone number. And I have a Google Voice account. And so I don't really text students from my own personal phone, but I do have a Google Voice. And so sometimes if I can't, if I email the students and I'm not getting a response, I will text them and they will respond back. So this was, texting was how I communicated a lot with students in the spring and even during the summer. And even now, I'll get students who will text me, and I like Google Voice because it's also on the computer. And so once I, at the end of each month, I print off all of my text messages, and then I can put them, file them away. And so I have documentation of the student and, the conversation that we had. So I like doing that. We do have a counselor referral form that we have that we've sent out for parents. We've sent out for teachers and the students. So they could even refer themselves, or if they have a friend that they think needs help, they can refer to them, refer them out. Of course, this is where our teachers, and then we've had parents who, said, this is what's going on. We've had, a death in the family, we might want you to contact, or, we've lost our job. We might need you to talk to, our student. We just had a house fire here with one of our students. And so, all of those kind of things, it's really good that the parents communicate with us and let us know. Our Family Resource Center is awesome about letting us know those things too. But it's nice when the parents communicate with us, because then I can immediately communicate back to them and ask, what can I do? How can I help? And how are the students doing? Behavior RTI, it's been a little difficult doing it through this means that we have right now, this hybrid schedule. But I sent out, I don't know how many of you all use the SRSS, but I sent this out to the teachers about 3 weeks ago, and they are to have it finished by tomorrow. And this is awesome because as you're putting it in, you're just like ranking the students over here, either 0 if it, has never happened, or 1 occasionally, 2 or 3. And I explained to the teachers when I sent this out this year, because I realized that they have only had the students in their classroom at the time that I sent it out, at most 6 times. And so I was like, I understand that, you might not be able to or feel comfortable. So just do what you can, because I've got a second step. And so like the students are going to do something this year, because last year I just used this to come up with our behavior RTI part. And so you just go through, and let me just quickly do this. Oh, no. And you'll notice here, as you're adding this up, it's telling you whether the external or internal factors, if they're red, that's something for you to kind of, like meet with the students. And we got this data and we figured out, and then we came up with groups that we met with students. I met with them like individually first, before I actually met with, like, we put them into groups, because it could have just been like, especially some of these that are shy or sad or depressed or anxious, it could just be that teacher, because maybe that's just how they are in that class, especially if it is a class that the student struggles with. So I had them to, I wanted to talk to them first. But this is where I added another element this year. I did a strength and difficulties, and on this, it was a paper form, but I put it into a Google form just because that was easiest, and I could send it out to all of the students, not just the students here, but our virtual students. And so they went through and they just answered if it was not true, somewhat true, or certainly true. And so once I'm doing, they've already finished theirs. And so now I'm going through and I am calculating and I'm comparing what the teachers came up with and what the students came up with, and that will determine our behavior team, our behavior groups. And some of the groups that we had last year was anger management. We had grief. We have living situations. I'm sure a lot of you guys. We have a lot of our students who are living with grandparents or other relatives. And then we have just recently seen, like within the month, a increase in foster care. And like foster parents that we have never worked with before are coming in, and and so that has been something, and that they have never been foster parents before. So that has been something that has been really different for us in this last month. Legal situations, sometimes we have a lot at the high school level, and I didn't experience this a lot at the middle school, but at the high school level, we've had a lot of students, I don't want to say a lot, I would say maybe last year we had 5 students in this group who had some type of legal, and sometimes one, it was like a truancy issue that just kept escalating. And then some other issues that were legal with the police, there was a police action with it. We have some self-esteem and some acting out. And so we met with small groups last year. And so we're hoping that we can, once I get all the behavior data and work through it, we'll be able to actually start meeting in our small groups next month. That's our goal. Some of our motivation, because I don't know about you guys, but especially at the high school level, like we ran our report at midterm of how many students were failing classes. And I won't even give you the numbers because it was shocking. And like I ran the report 3 times because I was sure something was wrong with this report, because I just kept in my mind going, and I compared to last year. And the number was 3 times higher this year, with us having 2/3 of students than we had last year. And so our principal is really big on motivation and rewards. And so every week we meet as a leadership team and we're talking about different things. And so one of our emotional check-ins, we asked the students, what type of rewards would motivate you, would get you to come to school or complete your assignments, or just as a reward for doing already those things, And so last 9 weeks, last quarter, we went ahead and all the students who had completed all assignments, who had participated in every day, we had put them in a drawing, each grade level, and we gave out gift cards to students. And so that was, like the students were pretty excited about that. So they're all excited about that. ACT benchmarks. This was something we were actually going to do last year, but with everything that happened in the spring, by the time we got our results, we weren't able to do that. So we did it on Tuesday, and we're doing it on Friday for our A and our B students, and then our dual enrollment and our virtual students are coming in on whichever day works with our schedule. But our principal is grilling out for them. One of our local banks has provided supplies, and we're making homemade ice cream for them. Another local bank has has bought brownies for them. And then I bought these cute little cookies that were just adorable. I had to just buy them. So I bought these cute little cookies for them. And so we're providing them, and they get the whole block off, and they can go into the gym. They can play, social distance, of course, but they can kind of play. Or it's been nice that they've just been able to sit there and just kind of talk. And so some of them, you know, they were in the cafeteria area, the commons area, and they were spread out, but they were just talking to each other. And I thought that was interesting, because we were like, you can go to the gym and play. And they were like, no, we're good. And that's all they wanted to do, was just sit in there and just kind of talk. We're doing a dual credit scholarships. We have 2 organizations that Beyond Kia has provided us with scholarships for our dual credit students. And so we do a big presentation of giving them certificates. So we'll be handing all of those out pretty soon. We're going to be doing that Friday and hopefully next Monday. And then we've got a poster maker. This is very exciting for us because we didn't have one until this year. And so our principal went up to the board, and he was like, hey, if you guys will help us, we'll provide posters for all the schools about, 6 feet apart and all of this. And but then we get to keep it, and so we created all those posters, and now we are putting posters up recognizing students. So if they have been, if they've already received their career ready because they are certified in an area, we have their picture up. If it is ACT, we've got their picture up. If it's because of dual credit, we've got their picture up. If it is a student recognition for sports, we've got it up. So we're trying to really do some of those kind of things and really motivate and get the students' pictures up. We're working on like students who have all A's and B's. And then we're even going to do the next quarter is if you improved, say you had, maybe you had 2 D's, this first quarter. And then in the second quarter, you raise those up and now you have A's and B's and, a C or something. We're going to put you on a poster because you have improved. You have stepped it up is what we're going to call it. So we've done a lot of different things. Our principal is really big on spirit and Spirit Week and days. And so I don't know, you probably can't see, but we have a lot of college days that we encourage the students, and then the faculty gets to wear college apparel to kind of motivate the students, for the next step. We also have, like if you're going into the military, you could do some of those kind of, dress up or wear something from there. We also have our Butler County outfit, like shirts and those kind of things. So we try to really do as much of that as we possibly can. Some of the rewards really that the students are asking are things that we're currently, coming up with. One thing that we are just getting ready to add is that, and we have never done this, is allowing them to go off campus to eat. We have never allowed our students to be able to do that, but we have gotten permission from the board that if students complete assignments or do this, or, like there's going to be a list of different things that they can do. And if they complete those, they will be able to go off campus and then come back to finish out the day, but to go off campus and eat and then come back. So that's something new for us. And I'm very interested to see how that's going to work. I know a lot of schools, a couple of schools that do that. So we've gotten some information from them on how they, work that out. But so we're kind of excited about that. How to share our information. Oh, wait a minute, let me go back. So one more thing that we just did, first time ever, is we did a college fair. And it was so funny because we're in a pandemic. And I call these colleges and I'm like, can you come? And they're like, yeah, because they're not able to go anywhere. But, you know, I had 6 colleges. They were all in the Commons area. They were all spread out. I had on my Sign Up Genius, we had one just for that particular night. We had Kia in the library, and they had to sign up because I did have a number. I couldn't go over a certain number, you know, or it would be an issue with numbers. But, you know, we were washing, we were wiping down between every time. I mean, the colleges were fabulous. So for you high school, you know, I know that they want to come in. A lot of them, if you're not able to, I know they said that a lot of schools weren't allowing them to come in. But if you're not able to, contact them and ask them for videos. I've gotten a couple of videos from some of the other colleges, and they're already sending them to me. And what we're doing is we're posting them on our Google Classroom, and then we're also posting them on our social media. So that's a great way because, you know, like we just did this fall school counselor meeting with all the colleges, and you know they provided us with all that information. But it's great if they have a video that they can send out that tells the students when their due dates are, you know, some information about their programs. A lot of the colleges are doing they're going away from the ACT, so you know getting that information out I think is really, really vital, especially for your seniors right now. And I think for me that has been my biggest concern, is to make sure that we have our FAFSA days. We have Kia coming in helping us with our FAFSA. We have, you know, colleges coming in helping, you know, do those kind of things. And so I think as long as they're safe and we're smart, that you can still kind of do some of those things as long as your district allows. Sharing the information with parents and students, you know, social media. One good thing, and maybe not good thing, I'm not sure, but I'm in charge of our social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And so I post all of our social media for our school. And so I'm kind of like, so I know when I need to get stuff out there to whether it's seniors or juniors or whoever it might be. So that's great that I kind of, you know, I don't have to rely on sending it to somebody else and waiting to see if they, you know, post it. I can just do that. Like I said, I use Canva just because I didn't have a budget to pay for s'mores. So I use Canva, and it allows you, you know, for all of my social media, you know, if I've just got something quick, I'll put it out there. But if you can do something cutesy or flashy, or because they have a lot of animated social media posts that you can use, some templates. And so I use Canva a lot, and this is what I use for KSCA also, and when I'm posting some social media things. But they also have a newsletter, and so I use that. We're getting ready to start posting our pathways, our career pathways. So I'm using Canva to create all of our posters for our CTEs. Obviously email, we had our tech person last year, and then they updated it this year, list all of our students. And so when we send it out as a BCC, but we blind copy it for the students so that they don't know what that account is. But so that way we send out an email. Last year I did it like in the NTI in the spring, I did it every day. But this year I'm doing it about once a week. I sent out an email and I just kind of update because students were like, because I didn't kind of at the very beginning because they were here, but the students were like, we need more communication. We need you to be telling us stuff. And so I've started emailing them every week with some information, what's going on, because sometimes they say they can't hear announcements or they don't listen to them. And so this way it's in an email and they can see it. We have Remind that as a counseling office. And so anything that we need some information from them or we need to let them know, we send it out on a Remind. We have posters here and I have posted it for them to be able to sign up for that. We have One Call at the school, and then you saw my Google site. And then of course I talked about I have Google Voice also. We did a parent survey. Our mental health therapist in our district did that, and she kind of took care of it, but she did let us know, like when we sent it out, she let us know if there was something with my students or my parents, if there was something that I needed to know. But she, you know, if it was just, you know, needing information from the Youth Service Center or Family Resource, they kind of took care of that. Other than that, she let us know, but it was really good. That she said that one of the things it could have just been like the communication, but she said like some of the parents were like, oh, I didn't mean for you to have to call me. I didn't know that you were going to, call me, and I didn't want to be a bother. And she was just like, it's no bother, we're just trying to see what's going on. So I think I think the more that we have that communication, that two-way communication with parents, and let them know that we want to know the information, they won't be so surprised when we're calling them and saying, hey, I heard this, or I heard that you might need this. Because some parents get really I don't want to say embarrassed, but they just get a little concerned about you contacting them sometimes about different things. We also sent out one for the staff, and what we're doing with the staff one is once every couple of weeks before the staff gets here. I'm usually one of the first people who gets to school. I'm one of those early people. And so I will go in and I will hang it on their doorknob. And they told us like, what kind of drinks do they like? What kind of snacks do they like? And so our science department has to get here because they have planning first. So they have to get here and be at duty at 7. It was at 7 o'clock at first, and now it's at 7:15 every morning. And so they're having to do about 20 minutes extra duty than any of the other departments. So I created a little gift bag for each of them, and I put on their door. And so they were just, and it was after like 3-4 weeks of them doing that, and they were just like, thank you so much. And I was just like, you're welcome. Because a lot of them was like chocolate. That's what they wanted. They wanted chocolate. And so they were like, the chocolate came in handy this week. And I was like, okay, great. So, we're doing some of those kind of things for teachers also, because I think that has been the big thing is the teachers, their level has gone up and down. So we created a Google form for them to fill out of just some information. So like I said, we're on this hybrid weird schedule where we're an AB day. We have Monday, Tuesday, we have our A group, and then on Wednesday through Friday, they're NTI. On B days, we have them here on Thursday, Friday, and then Monday through Wednesday, they're NTI. Virtual students and online. And so, like I said, our A group, that's we have about 240. On B group, we have about 212, and then our virtual, we're about 200 right now. So, and I don't know how all those numbers, but that like any school, our numbers fluctuate, going up and down. And I think right now our biggest anxiety, whether it's parents, teachers, maybe even students, is on our website, on our district website, we have the map, everybody's seen the map, and with the color coding. And so every day, like I was walking through the hallway this morning, and there was a group of teachers talking about, because we're in red. And so the teachers are all talking about it. Like, what does that mean? What does that mean? What, what's going to happen? And I think that's the biggest stressor right now for us is, how many days are we going to be in red? We have one cafeteria in our district that has been shut down because several workers have been quarantined. And so that has been the biggest question right now is like, we've been told that on Fridays we'll find out what the next week is going to hold, but the teachers are like, I want to stay, I want to stay where we are. I want my kids in here. And we know that parents want their kids here. It was our hope that by this week we would be up to 4 days a week with, our A group and B group. We would have combined them. But after fall break, that is just not happening. So I think with us, that's our biggest anxiety. And, we've been trying to communicate on Facebook. Our district created a Facebook page so that they can communicate. And I think that, it's communication. I think that has got to be the key right now is just communicating that out. And then we do a lot of one calls because of those parents who, and sometimes it's our grandparents maybe that don't have Facebook. And so, just trying to make sure that we're reaching everybody with the information so that they know, because sometimes we'll get phone calls like, on Wednesdays. That's our NTI for everybody. That's when we do our PLCs, our mental health cohort meetings. So we do those on Wednesdays, and we'll get phone calls. Are you all going to be open on tomorrow? Our kids coming in, and so we're like, I think that communication is still a key to try to figure out how do we work that out. But I think that right now is our biggest anxiety, is that map. And my comment to the teachers are, you got to stop looking at it. You got to stop looking at it. They are going to tell us on Friday morning what we're going to do for the next week. Just keep going with it. Keep doing what you're doing. Be there for your kids. But it's harder. It's easier than to say it than actually do it, because that's just what's on right now on everybody's mind here. We do allow our special ed, our ELL, and our 504 students to come in 4 days a week. So if they're an AB student, say they're an A student and they normally come in on Monday, Tuesday, they can come in on Thursday, Friday also. We have just hired somebody who will start next week, and they will work with those students. That way we're not mixing our AB students, but that she will actually have them in a separate room, and they will be social distance, but they'll be working with them on those days. We already had them coming in, some of them who were needed that extra support from the very beginning, but we've had some that with their grades, we decided that they needed a little bit more. So we were allowing them to come in on Wednesdays, but that was hard on our special ed teachers and our ELLs, just because we do, like I said, we do our PLCs those days. We have a lot of ARC meetings on those days. And so that was becoming a little bit of a difficult situation. And so we asked our director of special ed, asked our superintendent if we could hire a long-term sub. So we actually got a retired teacher who will be coming in and working. So we're very excited about that. Our Wednesdays now will be progress monitoring with our online and virtual students only. So that should minimize, because we don't have a lot of our special ed students who are virtual or online. So that should help that situation a little bit. And then our credit recovery and our failing grades, because something that we've always talked about with our students, whether it's, especially in 9th grade, we hit this when we go over there in 8th grade, but we kind of keep talking about it, that, all throughout you've been able to fail a class and just keep on going. High school doesn't work that way, because you got to earn those credits. And so Wednesdays we will start bringing in students. We've brought them in, and we have a Google sheet, and we have different pods, and like teachers will sign up, and they can put in like whenever the time. So there's like 3 different time frames for students to come in to allow time for cleaning in between, and they can stay for an hour and a half. Now, if they need to stay for longer than that, that's totally fine. They just step out in the hallway, or if they need to go to another teacher, they just step out in the hallway, and then the teacher cleans in between, and then the student goes in. We are going to start doing after school ESS, and we have not done that in the 3 years that I've been here. So we are going to start that. And then of course we'll have summer school next year. We also are allowing seniors to start coming in on their opposite days. So if they're a B day, they can start coming in on Mondays and Tuesdays to start making up some credit recovery, just so that, we get everybody to graduate at the end of the year. Whew, I hope I haven't went over my time too much, but that's pretty much, how we're handling some things here. Some of the things that, in the spring that we did for our seniors was, we did this big thing, this big push for Adopt a Senior. And we saw this from, I think it was Franklin Simpson, but they were kind of allowing parents to do that. And I was a little nervous, and the superintendent at the time was a little nervous about, would we have students not being adopted, and who's keeping up with that? Or would we have somebody being adopted 3 or 4 times? And, you know, and so what we ended up doing was I kind of took that last year, and I monitor that. And I just had, like, first I sent it out to all the schools because they've had most of the kids. And so they went quickly. We did not have probably 20 of our 158 seniors last year that I needed people in the community. And most of them were taken from with churches, like churches wanted to do it. And then we just had all of the packages dropped off here. And we had these, we did this a couple of different times, like when Jostens was here and they were picking up their cap and gowns, we were giving them cupcakes and we were taking their pictures and we were making a big deal about it. We had music going. When we were giving them their cords, we had this big parade kind of thing that they had to go around and collect them and everything. Then we had this big day where we had different businesses. We had the gift giveaways. We had t-shirts. We had gotten everybody a t-shirt. We had gotten all this stuff. I think there was like 7 different things going on that day. And in the front of our school, we have kind of a drive-through. And so we were all just lined up there and the students were just coming through and picking up everything. And then we had a business here provide them with lunch. So, I mean, it was a fun activity. And so we were just trying to come up with different ways. We're already coming up with some things for this year's senior class to kind of figure out, like, because even though they're here, we don't know what it's going to look like in May. And we also know that it's not a typical season. I mean, even the sports, while they're having, sports right now, it's not a full season. And we want to still be able to kind of celebrate them a little extra, than we normally would, I guess. So that's some of the things that we've been doing at a high school kind of level. And Shay, I think I covered everything you asked me.
Yeah, I tell you what, there's been so much to cover because all the school counselors that answered the survey had some great thoughts, ideas, concerns, and you and Sarah have really touched, I think, on pretty much all of them. And maybe what you haven't hit, then Heather and Olivia is going to pick up. So do know, counselors, if we didn't answer everything, that doesn't mean that it's not going to get answered. It just probably couldn't get answered in this short window of today. But oh my gosh, Sherlyn, awesome work. Middle school, high school counselors. She is your person right here in GRREC region. Hopefully you got some great ideas. I love that it's geared towards those older kids and what you are doing in Butler County at the high school level. So thank you. The next group, as they start to get on, Sherlyn has unshared her screen, and so Heather and Olivia is going to share their screen, and their PowerPoint should pop up. If it doesn't in a little bit, then I think Kelly probably Thompson has that, and we can share it that way. They're in Boone County, they typically use Google Meet, so this is a little bit different platform than they're used to. So you all just hang in there. I know you might be sweating bullets, but take your time. That gives me a chance to say a little bit. As we go along, probably the last 10 minutes, you're going to see a link in the chat that's going to be like every so few minutes. Click on that, and then that will be from Kelly Thompson. That is your Google form to fill out that you were present during this network meeting, so you'll get 3 hours of ELA credit. It will automatically go to you, but always make a note to yourself right now. Double check your junk and clutter folder because sometimes those want to pop into those folders. So as a reminder, because we have like 143, sometimes 144 people on, don't forget towards the end to click on the Google link from Kelly Thompson so you get your 3 hours of credit. If you have issues, I'm going to keep this meeting going for probably another, I'll keep it up and going for like 20 minutes afterwards. You can ask questions or always feel free to email me. So once again, this whole network meeting is about you all and your concerns that you all have had for this unbelievable year. I thought it was great always to reach out and hear from other people across the state of Kentucky. It's we find out real similar that we all have the same issues, no matter if we're in Boone County or Butler County or Christian County. But met these ladies or got to be in their session at the conference and just thought it would be good for them to talk to you all and get a different perspective as well. So middle school, high school, and elementary, hang in there, because I'm sure there's going to be something that you can walk away from. We're trying to make it not be repetitive, because every school counselor thinks and sees things so differently. So we felt like the third presentation will be just as helpful as Sarah's first presentation. So Ms. Heather, I'm going to be quiet now. You're up and rolling. Great job on a new platform, first time using.
Yay.
And go ahead, Ms. Heather, and Olivia, go right ahead.
All right. Can you all hear me okay? Thumbs up. Yeah, that's what I tell my kids to do. Thumbs up. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'm Heather Bushelman. I know I recognize a lot of names because I'm originally from Bowling Green. Me and Olivia were at Long Branch Elementary. This is my 4th year up here, my 14th as a school counselor. And so we're just going to share some different things that we do today that hopefully we have tried to gear it more towards what we do at elementary, but that you all can fit into what you're doing at middle and high school as well, that have worked for us, that are more for the, I guess, for virtual setting that we've been in for such a long time. And Olivia, are you there? Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So I'm Olivia Ballou. I've been here at Long Branch for 3 years. I did work middle school and high school before I came to elementary. So I think that I have that perspective if you all do have any questions or concerns. I did see that Sherlyn kind of hit some things that we talk about as well. So we'll try to be fair with your time and talk about the things that might add a little bit of different things. So yeah, we'll get rolling.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you all.
All right. So I know one big thing that, of course, we do. I know Sherilyn talked a little bit about the emotional check-ins. And so, Olivia, do you want to start with this part?
Yeah, I'll make it brief. So we do zones of regulation in our building. If you all do not use that or aren't as familiar with that, I highly recommend it. We do it very well with Fidelity on a tier 1, 2, and 3 level here. I just learned that I can send calls to my voicemail, so that's exciting. This is a requirement for all of our kids. When they were in the building physically, they would put a popsicle stick in a cup telling what their color was so that we can have an idea of what their energy was and address that up front. So this is kind of how we've modified that to be virtual. And so in the mornings, this is a 2nd grade one, it's pretty easy. They'll go in, they will mark which zone that they're in. And then I think that is, yeah, if you'll go ahead and click to the next one. They'll tell us why they're feeling that way. And we've already given them instruction on this. We do our guidance, we do SEL in our building. We are very tight with all of that stuff. So that they'll give us an idea of where they are. And then our 5th graders also have a way, we let the teachers decide how they wanted to do their check-in. So they set it up grade level wise. They also have a way to put in comments on theirs. So we'll go ahead and click theirs. Okay, so right here they say, would you like to share the reasons? This has been highly effective. So I would recommend that if you're doing any kind of check-in, you make sure you have that for especially the 4th and 5th graders who are better at typing. We did have a student who was struggling with COVID and being inside. His parents were extremely restrictive. He couldn't go outside at all. And when I talked to him, the teacher had referred him to me. We did see that there was a possibility of self-harm, and he was virtual. So there's no way we would have known that if it weren't for this check-in and him putting that response there. And so this is just our way of making sure that we don't miss any concerns and we can be proactive in the day.
Mm-hmm. And I think our biggest thing with these emotional check-ins, like Olivia said, this is something we've been doing now for 2 years. Our homeroom teachers, they've all been trained. They know how to use it. They know in our building, I mean, even our paraeducators, they all know what the colors mean, what the energy means, and the emotions for each one. We've got posters in our school. And when we went virtual, even last spring, the first thing I know we did was this was what we uploaded to Google Classrooms. We had every team make sure they were still doing this with their kids because not getting eyes on them every day was huge for us because we see so many kids. And so this year it was a non-negotiable. As a team, they had to create their own emotional check-in. So, and I know like for my own son, like on his Google Chromebook, he has a bookmark, and every day when he's home, that's his assignment. That's the first thing he does every morning. And the results go to our homeroom teachers, and that way they can see every single day what's going on with their kids, whether they're here at school for those couple days a week, or if they're at home for the 3 days that they're home. So for counselors, this helps us to know which kids are going to be referred to us, and it lets the homeroom teachers also be aware that there's things going on. So these emotional check-ins have been a game changer. And like I said, in our school, it's a non-negotiable. They have to do it. And our homeroom teachers, they don't mind it at all because they see the benefit of it, just to add 2 seconds to their lesson or whatever they're doing. So, okay. So the next thing, let me find it. Okay. So we created, our tier 1, we have a Bitmoji virtual counseling office. We've now done 3 different ones. We're about to release our November one for our kiddos. And this has been just majorly helpful. It started off kind of small. We were kind of playing around with it because I know for me and Olivia, like I said, we normally see so many kids in person. This has really been hard for us just to make sure we're getting eyes on our kids and seeing them. And so here's a sample of our Bitmoji office. And I know we wanted this to be something more than just a bunch of bells and whistles. It's cute, it's fun, it's a bunch of cartoony looking stuff. So first thing we thought of was, how can we make this like relevant for our kids and our parents? And so the first thing we did back at the beginning of September, we created a video of me and Olivia walking through all the links and how to access it. And our teachers, again, it was a non-negotiable. They had to show it to every single homeroom. And so when they shared it with their homeroom, it was like an extra 5 or 10 minutes. So our homeroom teachers have our links uploaded to their Google Classrooms. So every kid in our school has access to this. Every parent has access to this. And it's been kind of exciting because at first it was a little slow, but now we will randomly hear teachers or other kids comment to us like, I love your office. I can't wait to see what you're going to do in November. I had a teacher this morning, her class was here and they looked in the blue zone. They were tired. And she said, yeah, I think we're going to get into your counseling office on their Chromebooks, and we're going to get them woke up a little bit to get back to green zone. So little things like that, like our kids are using this. So I'll just kind of show you some different things on here. So like, for example,
Heather, so I just want to chime in real quick. I think one thing that we ran into was that when we have virtual kids, well, we had 2 issues, and one is that we had a non-negotiable calm corner in every classroom last year, and now they can't share those materials. We don't have enough money to get more materials. So this was sort of our way to address kids at home and kids at school having their own virtual calm corner in addition to everything else we've done. And I would definitely recommend something like this. I've even used it with a tier 3 kid recently who destroys everything in class. We want him touching minimal things. And so this is something he can pop up on his own Chromebook, do his thing for a limited amount of time, and get back to class without ever leaving his desk.
Mm-hmm. So for example, like if you like, there's pictures of us, of course, and our pets, because our kids love to see our pets. They talk about Miss Baloo's dog and my 3 cats. Like I'm kind of the cat lady, which is kind of weird, but it's okay. But for example, like our See the Counselors, it's right there up at the top. So if our kids need to see us, they can just click on that link and it goes right to our counselor check-in. They can fill it out. It goes right to our Google Docs, and we can see exactly which kids may need a check-in. Which is very helpful for us. And you see the pumpkins at the bottom. So we have a different room for every color because like Olivia said, we do zones of regulation as a tier 1 for part of our SEL instruction. And so, for example, if they want to go to the green zone, if they feel they're in the green zone in our room, again, you can see up at the corner, there's a See the Counselors button if they need us. And just about everything on here links to something. So the books will link to the book being read. The poster goes to a sample of what green zone looks like. There's a coping toolbox that has like 50 different things that kids can do for coping. And then of course they can return to the main office. Let me go back up. Okay, so for example, like here's our blue zone. It's very tired, it's sad, it's kind of sluggish. And so we've got music, we've got like this window will link to like rain sounds, the spider links to some coping skills, the books again. And then for our yellow zone, it's kind of fidgety. It could be afraid. It could be kind of excited, kind of frustrated. We've got different books and, of course, again, different coping skills. We got a Rubik's Cube because I know we have some of those in our offices for our kids, and they can click on that and it goes right to the link. And then there's our red zone, which is usually the one where you're out of control. You're very angry, very excited, you're terrified. And so that's kind of, and of course our Bitmojis, the kids love the Bitmojis too, because they're like, y'all are cracking me up with how you look so angry or so excited. Because a lot of our kids think the red zone is bad, and we want to make sure they know it's not bad. It's not just because you're so angry that you can't control it. But again, like we've got Howard B. Wigglebottom. There's a social story there about controlling your anger. It's hard to be a verb. I love that book because it's so, it talks about, shouting out, being impulsive, which a lot of times is where our excited kids go to the red zone. So this is just a sample of what our teachers always upload every single month. And again, we've got one that's about to come out for November where we've changed all of our books. We've changed our videos. And again, it's a non-negotiable. They're going to show the video. They're going to upload it to their Google Classrooms just to make sure that their kids are getting some type of calm corners in their homes virtually. They use it here at school. But it's been nice because, especially because the kids are using it. So at first, we didn't know if it was going to take off, but it really has. And so we have found value in it. And the biggest thing is because our homeroom teachers, they're all using it. It's not just the counselors when we pop in for guidance. Here's what you do. It's an everyday expectation. So that's what we can kind of set it up as.
You can modify this for middle or high school. I do think that at high school, if you made it probably less kid looking, it could be very valuable. I remember working high school and I felt like everything was everywhere, which is why I only did it for 1 year. But putting everything about all your ACT information in one slide, all of the upcoming dates, all of your scholarship options, just modifying that for whatever your school's needs are, it is a one place, and it puts more accountability and responsibility on the students as well. So in elementary, you have access to calm yourself down and you're not choosing to do that right now. Like we have given this and provided this. And in middle and high, you have access to these documents to find these supports and these dates. That's especially helpful when they get older, and that accountability. So we like that it can be adapted.
So we just added these. These are some check-in forms that that I know we're gonna kind of tweak and use. But for our secondary counselors for middle and high school, this may be something, if you're not doing emotional check-ins yet, this may be a place to start. Because these are weekly. These are not like a daily thing, depending on how your schools are set up. But there's a beginning of the day, end of the day, and then of course, beginning of the week and end of the week. So you can copy those, play around with them. But these are some other things we found that are maybe not so kiddie looking with the pictures and stuff that you all might find value in. You can copy them and then tweak them to however it's going to work for your kids. Because I know we find a lot of value in our emotional check-ins. Okay. So moving more towards our tier 2 and tier 3 that we do. So of course, like I said, we normally see a ton of kids in person. I mean, we're constantly with kids. So for us, this was hard, like a lot of you all, to try to figure out, especially for our kids who receive interventions behaviorally, socially, academically, how are we getting to those kids? So I know, so this year, the first thing we did was we keep in a Google Excel sheet that our tier 2 and tier 3 team can always access. And it's got our kids split up between tier 2 and tier 3. And it has a little snippet of the date they started and what interventions they're getting. So the first thing we did was we reached out to the homeroom teachers And we said, okay, this kid's virtual, this kid's a hybrid. They might come back in a few weeks, you know, and now that we are back in hybrid model, we wanted the teachers to know, if you start seeing any of these types of behaviors spark up, let us know, and we'll intervene, whether it's a behavior chart, it's chart moves, it's a check-in from us, it's a mentor. And what's happened is, I don't know about you all, but I know for us, a lot of our kids who have behavior interventions, they did not need them yet, because they're home. They're not here at school. And if they are here at school, our kids have at the most 12 kids in the classroom. So we're checking on them, but right now, a lot of our kids are not doing most of their interventions that they were getting, just because right now their behavior is maintaining and they're academically doing fine. But now that we've been here this is our 5th week in hybrid, some teachers are starting to notice some things spark up a little bit. So our interventions are going to start taking off more. But we reached out and we keep track of those kids. And for our counselor ones, I know we emailed and we called parents as soon as school started to say, hey, you know, does Johnny need to check in? We'd love to chat with him on Google Meets, whatever. And so we're calling parents, we're emailing parents. For our Google individual meets with kids, I know a lot of our parents are really good, especially for elementary, because I know for middle and high, it may look different because they're probably more independent. They'll get our kids on at that certain time every single week. And if they're not able to, then we will add our counselor time onto a Google Meet. So if there's a kid that's already doing math class for 45 minutes, we will tag on to that at the end, and then they'll join our meet. So that way they're not having to get on and get off and figure out, oh, I missed my meet, or, oh, I was eating lunch. So that's helped us make sure we're getting our eyes on our kids. And how we know which kids to meet with, for right now, our emotional check-ins are very helpful for us and our teachers, because our kids can put things in there confidentially. Because I know for me and Olivia, it's been a big struggle talking to kids like this, because there's always a parent right there behind them, always. They're in the background, they're walking around. And I know a lot of times when we are talking to kids about maybe not doing work or struggling with, like, they just shut down, it's almost like a parenting class. We're having to kind of tell parents how to handle it like we would our teachers. And so I know it's been a struggle, kind of a fine line between, are we teaching parenting or are we helping our kid? So we've had to really change some of the things that I know of how we're counseling, which is just part of kind of the beast we're in right now. But all of our parents are really supportive. And if a kid misses a meet, we're calling. We figure out why the kid's on there, what's happening. And so, and our attendance concerns, I know we've still got kids who are not, they'll be gone and disappear from Google Meets for 2 or 3 days. The teachers reach out, or we look at Infinite Campus. And our secretaries are really good about telling us, well, this kid shows up as 20 days missing. However, maybe maybe they were positive for coronavirus, or maybe this is happening in their home. So they usually know why they're absent, to where we know how to intervene with that. And I know for the motivation, we will do whatever we have to. We'll do contests with kids and competitions. I know Olivia, for one of the kids she was seeing, it was a push-up contest. Like if she showed up late for the meet, she had to do push-ups. But if the kid showed up late, they had to do push-ups. And the kid was motivated. I mean, he was on time. He was early.
I had to do 4 push-ups, and the kid had to do.
So that really helped a lot of our kids who struggled, especially if the adults in their home, or if they're home by themselves, they're taking care of younger siblings. It really was motivating for them to get on with us. We would play games with them. I know my kids, I see that, the first thing I ask them about is, okay, what Legos did you build? And so they get on, they show their Legos, and then we go into our counseling behavior type stuff. So for a lot of our kids, it's been successful, but just, we know that parents are right there for our little kids, and they're listening to everything we say. We are starting our 2x10. We're doing it virtually, and right now, as long as we're in hybrid, it's going to be in person. And our 2x10, it's 2 minutes for 10 days in a row, which I know now it's going to be like 10 days in a row, as much as it can be week to week, since we are hybrid. But it's a simple intervention that we do for a ton of different types of kids. If they're an attendance issue, self-esteem, they're not doing work, They just need attention. Home life's not great. There's tons of different functions of behavior that this will meet. And our staff, they sign up to do 2 or 3 kids. So actually this week I'm sending in their kids' names that have been turned in by teachers who could use a mentor, just somebody extra cheerleading for them and checking on them, especially now that a lot of them are shut down at home and they're not showing up at school. They're all virtual. So we're going to start that next week. And so my teachers who would like to do virtual, they're going to schedule a Google Meet for every day. And it's going to be a 2 or 3 minute check-in. The kid can talk about whatever they want. And we use different types of data for that. This year, our district has bought Panorama. And it's focused on SEL skills. And so everything that we do as a school for SEL, we have a lot of data, but this is going to show us in a different light what skills based on the kids survey that they feel like maybe they lack or they would like more help with. So we're getting those results actually tomorrow. We have a training, so we're really excited about that. But the 2x10 is an easy thing. As a counselor, you all can delegate out. You don't have to do 100 kids. Your staff can help, and it gets them building relationships with kids, which right now is absolutely the most vital thing for our kiddos. So that's another thing that you all can do virtually, and it is for elementary, middle, or high school. It's very easy to do.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and talk about the rest real quick. We do have new students who have never been to our building and are virtual or started off remotely and are struggling to build rapport. And our building, we also have a very atypical, like severe autism sort of population. It is very, very different. And so we have students who are not social for multiple reasons. And so one thing that we have done is that our kids cannot get on their Google Meets outside of their classrooms. And so I will set up a Google Meet for them. I'll contact other parents and I'll have a bunch come into a meeting together. And it's not counseling specific. We're not working on a specific skill. It's just so that they can be social at a time where they're not able to be social, or work on social skills that they don't have naturally while they're making friends. I had a parent reach out about concerns with her child's behavior and how he is not doing well socially, and he's burning his bridges. And this is one way that I was able to connect him with another virtual kid in his class, so that when they do come back, he knows somebody. Actually had 2 other kids, and he's not so isolated coming back from what he's done previously to here. That was sort of the intent. So I would recommend that if you can. The kids look forward to it. They will not miss it. And then Heather, do you have that link up, the next one?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So one thing that our district has asked us to do is to track our work. And so this is what we use to track that each year. I really love this because, I mean, it's just got such a good breakdown. So when you're looking at 2016 to the end of 2019, we have all the groups that we did. We did count if we have a North Key group, or here we have the Family Nurturing Center, they do a group, that counts as well because it is a tier 2 that we are providing for students. So we've tracked how many groups we're doing and what they're based on. And then you'll see off sort of in the middle there, you start to see the Castle domains. We have switched how we do groups. We are no longer going to be doing a, like for example, a attention seeking, or what would be a better one? Following expectations group, because you following expectations is the same thing as self-management. You're not managing. So we have broken down all of our groups into the domains, and we will have the opportunity to talk more about that in another session that we get to do with you guys at another time. But that's why you're going to see a difference in the way that it shows up. As you can see, we have been able to increase the number of groups that we get in every year, which is awesome. Last year we had 38. We take advantage of any interns we can get. Some have been helpful, some have been more work. Any practicum students, any outside resources that are willing to do groups. So this is how we track it, and we'll be glad to share this with anybody who wants it, if you kind of want like our outline of this. But it was helpful because our principal was able to I was a half-time, she was able to make me full-time based on having this data throughout the year. This is how many groups my counselors are doing compared to other schools. This is why we need them, and here's what the results are. And I think the last thing that oh yeah, we track it all. We also have a sheet that shows how much is direct and indirect that we've started this year. That's still newer, so that's something we could also share at another time. But every little thing that we do is accounted for on here. And it's really not as much work as it may look like. It's just inputting the numbers once you already have this up every year. We keep the same format. The last thing that we wanted to talk about was I know she already went over Panorama, was the new patterns that we're seeing with our students. We did notice a pattern with our first graders coming in. They are much more attention seeking than typical. They blurt out far more than what we have seen as typical in the past. They don't manage their bodies as well. And it's not all impulsive behaviors. It's just, I've been at home and I can do this. And now I'm at school for 2 days a week and I don't see why I can't do this here. And so she and I are working on some different interventions to do there as a tier 1, but it also helps us, I guess, when we're seeing these patterns, we know what to expect moving forward. And so I would just encourage you all to see if you see any grade level patterns like we've seen. It's definitely been harder for the younger kids coming in, but we do plan to intervene with them. And we even thought of changing the tier 1 just on a first grade level. So we would keep our zones of regulation, but maybe doing an additional reinforcement because that's a pattern they're all sharing. So I think that is pretty much everything that we have that we could fit into 30 minutes. If you guys want anything, you are welcome to email us.
So, oh my gosh, Heather and Olivia, now you all know why I had them to join our network, just because they're another form of additional information that you all have out there, because I don't want you to feel like you're on an island by yourself, because all the ladies that have presented today are so willing to share and help. Don't forget, at the end, Kelly and I will work to get all this information out to you all. I know that Sherlyn and Olivia and Heather, y'all can kind of scroll through and you probably already have on some. There might be some questions just for you directly that you can go ahead and answer in the chat. We will make sure the chat is printed. I'll get that information out to you all. Maybe don't expect all of this afternoon, but I promise by the 1st of next week, we would hope to get this out to you all along with the recording, and then maybe with the email with all the different links, because this is a recording that hopefully you all will put in your toolbox and go back in time and take your time to really focus, because this is a lot of information in a short amount of time. And I know if y'all feel like me, it's like, oh my gosh, this is all unreal. It's happening in our GRREC region plus outside, and we're all working towards the same goal, and that's to help kiddos. So kudos to all of you all that's been able to speak towards this and help answer the survey questions, which I think they're doing a really nice job. What I want to do now, just because I know everybody needs to take a little bit of a breather and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to get off here because I don't want to miss anything. We are going to, Dr. Damien's going to be up. We go to 11:30. He's got some questions that he's going to try to guide us on, about 5 of them that came through. So if we want to take, right now, my clock says 10:32. If we want to come back in about 5 minutes, we're going to get started. Damien will probably, I'm going to pull my PowerPoint back up. His 5 questions are going to be on a slide. That may help you all know exactly kind of what he is talking about. I thought that may be a good visual for later when you go back. So thank you all. We'll try to keep answering your questions through the chat. Don't forget to keep looking for Kelly Thompson the last 10 minutes or so, link to the Google form so you all can get your ELA certificate. So feel free to take a little break and we'll start back in about 5 minutes. Okay, great seeing you all. Thank you all, ladies, for presenting. I've unshared the screen, and then he's going to share his. And remember, these are some state questions or questions that I personally felt like, and after Damien seeing the questions, it felt like those need to be answered from a state perspective. So once again, we're trying to answer and make sure you all know that we're hearing you all here at GRREC with the network, because this network is for you all. We want to grow and learn together, but it's all a part of sharing and trying to answer questions because you all don't have time to hunt down. So Dr. Damien, I'm going to be quiet and the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you so much, Shay. And I want to echo what Kelly said about you and your support for school counselors in your region. So I was not surprised that you won that award. You are very you're well deserving of that. And I just want to let you know publicly how much I appreciate you. Also, for Sarah, Sherlyn, Olivia, and Heather, you guys knocked it out of the park today. I'm so amazed by you and just so proud of the work that you're doing for your kiddos and your schools. So and your caregivers and your colleagues. So so you guys are really knocking it out of the park as well. All right. So so Shay, will you kind of read off the first question that you had?
Yes, I will, Damien. Hold on just for a second. I won't share.
I think this one was the School Safety and Resiliency Act.
So the school safety bill and the lack of movement for districts to try to hire additional counselors or take things off of our plates so that we can have more time to spend in direct services to students. So this was just a concern.
Yeah, definitely understand that concern. So so there's a lot to this concern. First, just so you know, there was $7.4 million in new funding given to school districts for, quote, additional school-based mental health service providers, and they should be full-time equivalent positions. So that ends up being about $43,000 to fund for each school district, the equivalent of one full-time mental health provider. So not very much money, but those schools should be acting on that. And just so you know, there will be a new budget bill coming up this year to decide what's going to happen moving forward. Okay, so we gave many options for schools to, or for school districts to use that $43,000. But as you know, that's often not going to pay for a whole, like a full-time school counselor. So sometimes they have to use other money to kind of throw into that bucket as well. So, so there you go for question number one. Oh, and then you know, this also suggests that, you know, we've really got to do our part in advocating for our role. I think many of you know that I'm a program coordinator for comprehensive school counseling at KDE, but I'm also an adjunct professor at the University of Cumberland and Spalding University. And I'm always talking to my students about just the importance of their voice. And so few of them feel like, you know, that they can really kind of say what they know they need to in order to prioritize the roles of a school counselor. So that's why we strongly suggest the use of the annual agreement template with your principal, so you can show that principal or leadership team member your priorities for your comprehensive school counseling program, and then kind of back that up with data. I loved how Olivia spoke about how the fact that her school was data driven. I mean, imagine that. Imagine being in her shoes. Her school was so data driven that they said, we realize that you're half-time, but we need more of you because we see just how much it is that you do. So we're going to hire you full-time. You know, so those conversations, the annual agreement template, being data driven, advocating for your role, they're all going to play into the part of showing the importance of school counselors and hopefully taking things off of your plate. If I show my principal that I'm meeting with kids 858 times for individual appointments, and then I'm also showing all of the different small counseling groups that I'm facilitating. And then I'm also showing all of the different tier 1 school counseling curriculum lessons that I'm doing. Well, I might be told that I need to be part of 504 meetings and ARC meetings, but I might be told that, okay, we realize that you can't be the chair of those meetings, okay? Also, I can use I linked in there for Sahel Christian. I linked in there the appropriate versus inappropriate activities for school counselors. I would strongly suggest that you go through that list and put a percentage by the times that you use on the appropriate side versus a percentage on each of the inappropriate activities. And if it's lopsided on the inappropriate activities, that's stuff you should take to that annual agreement meeting with that principal. All right, so I can see you. It's so nice to see you, by the way. Goodness, I missed you. So give me a thumbs up if this all makes sense. Okay, are you with me? Amy, Vincent, Sahel, you guys, I appreciate it. All right, question number 2, Shay. Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you. Sorry about that. The validity of the survey the superintendents will be completing for school counselor use of time through KDE. I'm not sure that this is the current form that we will get accurate information. And Damien, I know there's been a lot of talk about this all the time, and it was just sent out as a reminder to superintendents to have that turned in by November 1st. Not for sure if y'all are aware of that, school counselors. Some of y'all might be. So Damien, if you'll just kind of talk about that and that concern, and that you hear them on that concern.
Okay, one sec. All right. I totally hear you. Excuse me. I totally hear you. So the last Counselor Connection, I made sure to put to let you know that we've sent that counselor use of time survey several times to superintendents starting last month. And I told you in that last Counselor Connection, I really want you to get involved because last year was our first time doing that, and that school districts were mandated by law to offer this information. And what we would inevitably hear was, there were some school districts that were doing this with fidelity, and other school districts were sending in information without even talking to you. So we really want you to get involved. We really want you to put positive pressure on your school district to let you be part of this process, okay? Nobody wants you to go in there like being confrontational. So you need to go in there and just say, hey, I was on this call with Dr. Sweeney. He said that this thing was due next week, and what's going on with it, And so I just wanted to show you real quick. This was unfortunately, I've gotten there are 172 districts, so I get each one separately. So it's hard to kind of compile all that information, but this was one that was done just really, really good, really well. And I loved it because they really took the time to go through different roles of school counselors and say, these are the roles that our high school counselors do, these are the roles that our elementary school counselors do, and this is the percentage of time that they do. All right, and then as you know, and I don't know if I'm saying your name right, but Sahel, I loved your question in the chat box about, how do I know if something is direct or indirect? It's really, really important for you to kind of be able to distinguish that. Direct student service is going to be something that you're doing right with that student, right in front of them, right? Whether it's through a screen or in person, but you're with that student working with them. An indirect student service is going to be something that you do on behalf of that student, right? So I loved how Sarah Aiken, she works with her teachers to make sure that she's got the appropriate amount of information. Sherilyn did that with the SSRIE screener. So she's consulting. So Sherilyn is using that screener and she's consulting with teachers to say, what's going on with this student? Okay, I see that there's kind of, they might be in yellow or they might be in red in terms of their social and emotional needs. Let's work together to provide some solutions. So they're working on behalf of that student, not with that student right in front of them. Okay, that's considered an indirect service. What I put in the chat box also shows you what's considered inappropriate activities for school counselors. And often, too often, there's that misperception that inappropriate and indirect are synonymous when really they're not. Indirect services are things that we should be doing. Direct student services are things that we should be doing. Inappropriate, what ASCA deems as inappropriate activities, we should only be spending 20% at most of our time on doing those things. Okay? All right. What else we got?
Next question. What will testing look like in the spring? Any ideas?
Yes, I do. So let me look at this. So I asked our Office of Assessment and Accountability, and I know I'm not showing you this just because it's an email to one of our school counselors, but our Office of Assessment and Accountability, they said this. They said, recently, the U.S. Department of Education has informed states that they should not anticipate waivers being granted for this year like they were last year. However, they said the Office of Assessment and Accountability is actively participating in federal level discussions with the U.S. Department of Education and other professional organizations who are jointly monitoring and evaluating the situation. As the pandemic situation evolves, it will become clearer if the administration of state assessments will or will not be possible.
Thank you for Damien, and I know you'll keep us updated.
Absolutely.
As much as you can.
Yeah, the cool thing there is, I'm sorry, Shay, the cool thing there is that the commissioner keeps on seeking information from stakeholders about how they feel about state assessments being offered. So like he asked all of KDE to come to a lunch and learn, and we had a really in-depth conversation about state assessments, what they look like, how that feels on your end as folks that are boots on the ground in schools or working virtually or in hybrid situations, and kind of how that affects you, your own psyche, along with the students as well. So we really are seeking feedback from other people on this.
That's great. Fourth question, information about Senate Bill 8, Kentucky's new counselor standards.
Yeah, okay, let me pull that up real quick. So we just revamped our comprehensive school counseling page, and that is here. And so our standard, well, it's not our framework of best practices for school counselors are here. And I'm so proud of the work that so many school counselors throughout our state, along with school counselor educators, put into this framework to creating it. So this is live. This is active. This was released in July, and you should really use this to guide your comprehensive school counseling program. As you know, we can have 3 elementary schools within the same district doing, and their comprehensive school counseling programs look totally different, right? And we understand that there's got to be some kind of autonomy per school, per district, but we have so many different programs that are doing so many different things that this document really seeks to align us in many of the ways that we're kind of reflecting on our programs and then growing those programs. So I strongly encourage you to use that. Again, that information is right on our comprehensive school counseling page. And we really sought to make this an easy page to navigate. If nothing else, my time at KDE, I will have created easy pages for you to navigate. And I think we need to, the message that I continue to send to KDE is, you don't have time to seek and find information that's buried, behind 15 different links on our webpage. So I'm hopeful that this is a lot easier for you to navigate and really guide your program. And then what's also cool is you've got the role of a Kentucky school counselor defined here. And we took a lot of time to make sure that that definition really applied to your work. Okay.
That is great to hear about the website, Damien, and I do agree your section is much user-friendly and able to navigate. So we appreciate that for your help on getting that little piece of information just easier to get to. One of the last questions, and I'll say this while everybody's on here, I know there was a question about direct and indirect service, and once Damien gets done answering questions, that'll give him time to go kind of back in there and be able to help maybe answer that from a state level perspective too, and he will know some resources that probably are out there. So one of the last questions, and all of the speakers really touched on this, so and Linda, I think Tyree is helping answer that as well. Is self-care for teachers. And what has been great about you all today is you've shared, each of you shared about just some ways that you're trying to help each other out through all of this, because it is so different, and everybody's needing self-care and self-help. So, and Damien being a guru of this as well, I wanted him to be able to talk about this and just give information on self-care for teachers.
Yeah, so so thank you. Again, I'm so just overwhelmingly proud of our speakers today and all that they're doing. Again, I love that they realized that it wasn't, you know, that they really needed to provide so many supports for their students and their families, but that they also realized that their teachers, their colleagues were suffering. And I will also say, I try to take care of my principal as much as I could, because she was often struggling and overwhelmed and stressed out. And so if I could give her a little tip here and there, then I would do that. Okay, so I've been giving this this presentation, and I'll just kind of go through a little bit with it. But I've given this presentation to teachers throughout our state, throughout our country, and even somebody in Ireland wanted this one. So, so there's a lot to kind of talk about. Here, I just talk about how I was a soccer player at Transylvania. If there are any pioneers out there, welcome, and go Transy. But we had the soccer game, and our first game, and there was a lot of just kind of anxiety. It's our first game. We worked so hard all summer to prepare, and there was lightning. So we were all in the locker room, and somebody found this old ball that literally looked like the ball that you see on your screen right now. And we, you know, a bunch of young college males are not making the best choices. So we found this electric pump, and we decided to take bets on how long is it going to take to pump this ball up and for it to pop. And, you know, so everybody's 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Well, we pumped that thing up and it never popped. And we finally went out to the field, and we got the game going again. The first game of the season, everybody's so hyped. And all of a sudden you literally hear this pop, and people are like thinking that there's a gunshot or something. But it was this ball. Somebody took it out there. And I remind our educators that we often treat our own lives like that. We often treat our own lives like, you know, we're waiting for the next ball to pop, right? We made a mistake. How are we going to get called out for not being as good as we'd like to be, or not being perfect? So this is a lesson that you know, if you're interested, you can certainly use it. Also, I will be giving this lesson to you. I was just doing a lesson with the Commissioner Student Advisory Council this week. Let me pull that up real quick. And it was just a quick Nearpod. So I'm just going to show you little bits of this. But our students identified the need for coping strategies on our Commissioner Student Advisory Council. So this is a tier 1 lesson that you can use. You'll get it in your counseling connection, and you can choose if you want to do it live or whatever. But this will help you kind of just share different strategies with your students. But what I learned, so take a look at these cards that we infused in this lesson. What I learned is that not only did our students really appreciate these gentle reminders about how they can cope with stress, anxiety, depression, etc., but our adults really appreciated it. So again, you can do that with them as well. You can also, I would strongly encourage you to connect this to ASCA's Mindsets and Behaviors for Student Success, which are your school counseling standards for students. And another shout out to Olivia and Heather. I did really appreciate that you are connecting your lessons to Castle's 5 competencies. So, so kudos to you. So that again, you'll be able to get kind of more information there, but all of that information can hopefully help with teacher self-care, with student self-care, with coping strategies, etc.
Damien, thank you so much for answering those questions that we've had at this time. One thing to let you all know, I will try to do another survey. I'll go back and look and see if there's anything that we didn't quite be able to touch on today, and even probably send out another one. And I'm going to share my screen because I want to do some reminders on what is going to be coming up. So there was his questions that he answered. You all will be able to see this when we send this out to know that, okay, that's already been asked. We have a recording of that. I can go back and listen to those answers. The next thing, and right now everybody can kind of just take a breath and breathe. This will give Damien time to check the chat box to see if he needs to step in and answer anything. I know Linda was trying to help put some links in there for some of those questions as well. So save the dates. This is what we sent out, or I think I sent this out early on in the school year, but dear Lord, you know, we didn't even know our name half the time at the beginning of the year. So network meeting dates, network days like today, we have 2 more scheduled. Thursday, February 25th, Thursday, May 6th. And can you believe it says 2021 after those dates? So those will be coming up this school year. And I'm going to try to keep it very relative on what you all need to know now. And that will come from survey and type things that I get information out to you. So along the way, we're going to try to provide, GRREC's going to try to provide other trainings that might be relevant. So one of those is a training that was done at the conference, and that was from Olivia and Heather. They did one on multi-tiered systems of support, just that big umbrella and how this all fits together, SEL, PBIS, and some of what they showed today was part of that, but they will even go deeper. So on Wednesday, November 18th, elementary school counselors, save the date. Registration will be coming soon. That will be a 3-hour training. High school people, you are more than welcome in middle school to come join in on that. Just know it will be geared. So what you see on the screen will be geared towards more of a elementary level look. But the great thing is how Olivia spoke up. She's been and walked in y'all's shoes in that middle school, high school level. So if we know that high school teachers are going to be on there, she will always try to take that in consideration and help you all out as well. Also, I did not put it on here because we have not truly confirmed, but high school teachers, we have not forgotten you. So I do want you to save the date. Even though I don't have it truly confirmed, I want to go ahead and let you pencil it in. So pencil in December 9th, that morning, 8:30 to 11:30. It'll be a 3 hours. Just working to kind of confirm that. Heather and Libby also do this training geared towards middle school, high school. So we're just working, we have the date down. We just need to kind of confirm a little bit of what that day is going to look like that morning. So I'll say that again, middle school, high school, 8:30 to 11:30 on Wednesday the 9th. These are not network meetings. These are actual trainings. Okay, your network meeting dates are February 25th and May 6th, but we always like to try to meet other needs and go deeper as we find them. And I felt like this was a lot of the need on what was asked in the survey as well. I'll be working with Dr. Sweeney to try to see what is he hearing that overall in the state is a need, and we'll get him scheduled probably for an additional training at the beginning maybe of the new year. Somewhere along that way we'll have him be able to communicate, and that'll probably be a training. When I have Damien on, I feel like we all need to come together as a group and a team. That way everybody hears it the same way from the same person at the same time. And then that way we can help each other walk away. If we walked away from a different perspective from what he said, we can help each other understand better about what he was saying. So just wanted to save those dates on there. And then also wanted to give you a little GRREC update. So many of you are on here, you've known Linda Tyree for quite some time. Wealth of information, always willing to help, just like all the speakers on here today. But you all may remember Nancy, Dr. Nancy Birdlight, which is an unbelievable person. She was over our GRREC crisis response team. She was the leader of that for years. So she has stepped down from that as well. But the great thing is I have her on speed dial. We have her on the advisory council, the Project Prevent grant. She is still able to help anytime we have questions. Linda has stepped up to the plate. She's going to be the leader for the GRREC region. So, and some of you all may know and you may not, if you were part of the crisis team before, I sent out a survey asking, do you want to be a part of it again? We have that list. Linda's going to be communicating with you all soon. However, if you're hearing this today and you're like, hadn't thought about that, I need to know a little bit more about that, just email me. I'll get you hooked up with Linda. So also to update our crisis team and the districts that are involved a little bit is if there's a crisis, some school districts handle it themselves. They need no extra help. However, some districts may not have the capacity to handle it all. So they get a hold of us, our executive director and Linda, then a regional team from GRREC pulls together, and then they go help meet those needs. So your superintendents are going to be updated that we are like re-looking at that team since we have a new leader, and some agreements will be signed. So agreements are going to be signed by your superintendent. It'll be talked about at the next board meeting. So basically this is, if your superintendent signs the agreement, feels like, oh my gosh, yes, we need some extra help if there were to be a crisis. And then always know if agreement hadn't been signed and there needs to be help out there, I'm sure our executive director will be working with that superintendent. You never know what you're going to need until it's time to know what you need. So just wanted to give you that update. Kudos to Miss Linda for being here with us, always helping. As always, I check with her as well when it comes to meetings and what she sees from a state perspective as well with these meetings. And then, you know, I just want to say thank you. But as I say thank you, I'm going to go back to that slide just so it stays up for a little bit. Hopefully you are seeing probably in the chat box in just a little bit, or if it's been coming through, you've been seeing the link that Kelly Thompson's posting to fill out for your ELA. If there's any trouble with that, definitely reach out to me. I'm going to keep the meeting going for a little while after we shut down, just so you can get a hold of that link, because I know you may have to scroll back and look for it. Oh, I'm going to take a breath for just a second and reiterate again that we're going to try to always answer all your questions. I'm going to give you just a little bit of time. I know that actually, even though we have been going marathon, I've got 11:05 and we're really not going to end till 11:30. So, oh my gosh, thank you, Sarah, Sherlyn, Heather, and Olivia, I think had to pop off, and Damien for hanging in there with us and with me today throughout all this. But I'm going to open the floor up for just a little bit. Don't feel like you have to answer any questions, but I never want to leave your network meeting for you to be able to ask a question. I know most of you have been posting them though. So I'm just going to leave this up. Feel free to ask some questions. And then I'm not where I can see the chat box right now, but I know Kelly will help try to answer as much as possible.
Shay, I wanted to let you know, I've been speaking to a lot of different co-ops and school districts about just what Tier 1 can look like right now, along with Tier 2, and how to figure out what topics need to be kind of taught in those tiers.
Yes.
So that's one thing that if you're interested in, we could certainly talk about.
Damien, that is great because that kind of piggybacks on what Heather and Olivia are going to talk about on November 18th with elementary teachers. So if there's a way that you can join in on that, that would be great. Or, you know what, we can also have you as a separate training to take it from, to even join in with what they've done, and then you can have a day as well, because I think that's very important. You know, if your Tier 1's not working, that's the foundation. So we know that a lot of work has to be done in Tier 1 before any of the other supports are going to take place. So anybody got any thoughts or questions? You know, Sarah mentioned that she is a daughter of a preacher, so it's kind of like that wait time. Miss Sarah, I'm right there with you. I'm a daughter of a preacher too, so I feel like I'm ending the church service and open it up for comments, praises, anything that you all want to share before I allow, or just be able to tell people that they're more than welcome. They're not going to miss anything if they get off. I'm going to stop sharing for just a second. Any thoughts? Linda, you have anything? Sarah, Charlene, I think Heather and Livy are off.
Just great information today. If you've been able to keep up with the chat, if you're advocating for your position, data is what you need to use, and share it as often as you can. Ask to be on the agenda of your school board meeting. They're excited, especially this year with the pandemic. Everybody's focus is social emotional. So if you just say, hey, I'd like to share with our board members what I'm doing with our social emotional learning, and that's a great way to share that data and advocate for your role.
Absolutely. Thank you, Linda. I will ask Linda, Damien, Sarah, Charlene, Kelly Thompson to stay on. Just, I mean, if other people stay on, that's okay, but I just want to talk to you all briefly before you all leave today as well. So I am going, and I am able to see the chat now. Kelly's got the link in there for you all to click on, fill out the form. Within probably 5 minutes or so, your ELA certificate should be sent to you automatically. So if you don't see it, always look in your junk and clutter again. If you don't have it by the end of the day, pop me an email, okay? Appreciate you all. Hopefully, I just, you know, squirrel moment, Kelly Rich, I'm just laughing right now because I see your head and I'm just now seeing, I love it. So sorry about that squirrel moment, but thank you, Kelly, for giving me a big smile. I don't know about you all, but my heart is freaking right now. This has been just a great day, a morning with you all. Hopefully you all, if you're feeling overwhelmed, please don't, because these ladies are going to help you all. Damien's always willing there to help as well. We'll take it baby steps. If you feel, I don't want you to walk away discouraged, because if you're not where these ladies are, that's okay. It took them a while to get here as well. So hang in there. We're here to support. Kelly Thompson and I are going to work really hard to help bridge those mental health professionals with school counselors and get some more meat in there for you all, mental health professionals. So we'll be working along with Damien and Linda to try to think about how to get some more info out there. We all need it, but I know that you are looking forward to that. So I am going to end this, but if you all can kind of stay on, the few that I named, we'll give some chat. Thank you all so much for a great morning. I appreciate it. We'll see you, and then happy Halloween, happy Thanksgiving, happy Christmas, and we'll see you next year at a network meeting. Kelly Rich, I love it. Thank you.